Chapter 378. ZD's suggestion caused everyone to feel a trace of shock. Negotiate with a god? Was that even possible? It was like an ant trying to negotiate with an elephant. The difference between them was too great, and the ant who had such an idea was overestimating himself. Cyanobacteria gulped. Blue Charm God isn't a human. She's a god of another race. Moreover, we were involved in destroying the Blue Charm God sect in the Sky Pillar CI. ZD shook her head, but we didn't do it on purpose. Our original intention was to steal some divine power so that it would be easier to produce pearl foam, wasn't it? Moreover, without the pearl foam and our captain, the Blue Charm God would have been dead. Her words made sense, and everyone's eyes lit up. ZD was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Although she was in a weaker position, she was good at using the methods of a merchant to mediate with the strong and obtain the greatest benefits for herself. ZD continued speaking. We now know that the war traffickers are secretly working with the Blue Charm God. They are close allies. The strong people of the Bloodlust Judgment Court killed the war traffickers. Although the Maze Island was destroyed, we are the successors of the war traffickers. From this point of view, we can inherit the alliance between the war traffickers and the Blue Charm God. The most important thing now is that if we are captured and killed by the Empire, the Blue Charm God will be completely destroyed. Only by working together can we maximize our chances of survival. The foundation of our cooperation is huge. No one spoke, and they all began to think. After a while, Song Su broke the silence. He first agreed with ZD's words, but at the same time, he mentioned an old saying, gods are unpredictable. All of this is because we're thinking from the perspective of humanity, but God is based on divinity. If the Blue Charm God receives our sacrifice and is awakened, she will be angry and punish us severely. We can't bear the consequences. The risk is huge. Moreover, we don't know how much strength the Blue Charm God has left. Her main body has never fought, so there's another possibility. We negotiated with him and woke him up. He didn't need our help and killed us directly to vent his anger. Then, he still had the strength to escape from the gods of the Empire. The young merman was also worried about this. His heart was on tenterhooks. During the Sky Pillar CI battle, he had used Blue Charm God's body as a shield and a weapon at the same time. Hesitantly, he said, High Priestess Blue Charm once told me that Blue Charm God is in a terrible state. She has always been in a state of self-deception. Only by hibernating like this can she preserve herself and not be dragged down by her injuries. If we really let him awaken, not only will we be unable to protect ourselves, I'm afraid he will be the same. ZD shook her head. There must be a way to communicate with the dormant Blue Charm God. Otherwise, why would the war traffickers work with Blue Charm God? Furthermore, during the battle at the Sky Pillar Oceans, Blue Charm God's true body sensed the changes in the outside world. That's why she repeatedly created a god clone. Song Su nodded. If High Priestess Blue Charm is still alive, she might know how to communicate with Blue Charm God. I haven't been a blasphemy priestess for long, so I can't do that. Everyone discussed for a while and reached a consensus. It was too risky to communicate with Blue Charm God and negotiate with her now. However, this was a good suggestion. In the future, if they really had no other choice, they could use the Empire's strength and danger as a bargaining chip to indirectly force Blue Charm God to cooperate with them. Actually, we don't necessarily need Blue Charm God's help, Lon Zeo suggested. We have other options. We can rely on Firebeard. Firebeard? That's right. Lon Zeo nodded. Although I'm not a pirate, I made a living on the Pig's Kiss. I've heard too many stories about Firebeard on the sea. He risked his life and valued friendship. He was a man of his word. He was generous for his brothers. Among the 3 legendary pirates, he's the one most likely to ascend to the pirate throne. I think the main reason why the Empire's spies want to deal with the Firebeard pirates is because the scale of the Firebeard pirates is too large and too threatening. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Plus, we had close contact with Gray, Gold Chin, Sea Snake, and Kaze Yao. Everyone fell into deep thought again. Sky Pillar CI. Kacha. The subspace wall was full of cracks. In the subspace, Two legends were fighting fiercely. Finally, the subspace that acted as the battlefield reached its limit and couldn't withstand the shockwaves of the battle. Boom! The subspace shattered into billions of pieces like glass. Clawcrow spat out blood and suffered backlash. Without this subspace, Manjuang, Mudo, the barbarian warship, and a striker were all exposed and returned to the main world. Baitong raised his head and looked at Zhuaya with his big nostrils, showing obvious disdain. You think too highly of yourself to play with space in front of me, Zhuaya. Clawcrow wiped the blood from his mouth and still sat cross-legged on the large shell throne. He sneered. If that's the case, then I'll let you have a taste of this. The battle started again. The two sides fought back and forth, causing frost to fill the sky and space to explode. Clawcrow was at a disadvantage again. He had to consider many things. On one hand, he had to protect the barbarian warship. On the other hand, he had to suppress the blue charm throne. Finally, he had to deal with Mudo. He had to admit that Mudo was a rare, strong enemy. The key was that he could subdue Clawcrow. Clawcrow's main attack was frost. The extreme cold could slow down or even freeze the enemy. But Mudo had the space bloodline of a legend. His attacks could penetrate space and hit the enemy in the next instant. Lord Clawcrow, I'll stall him. Take the throne and leave. Manjuang shouted. Manjuang's actions were suicidal. But the barbarians didn't care about life and death. Dying in battle was the highest honor in their lives. Clawcrow shook his head. Leave? The great elder of the barbarians told me before leaving. The barbarians didn't lack sacred domains. But Manjuang was the only believer of the barbarian god. He could communicate with the barbarian god and receive the help of the barbarian god's godly power. This was too valuable. To the barbarians, it was more important than the legendary level Clawcrow. Manjuang gritted his teeth and could only retreat. The great elder of the barbarians had deep influence. Even the legendary level Clawcrow was willing to listen to him. Manjuang was no exception. But even if Manjuang wanted to leave, Mudo wouldn't let him. Are there deserters like you in the barbarians? Die in battle. Mudo suddenly appeared and hovered above the barbarian warship. Ship come. He stretched out his arm and pulled again. The space behind him cracked. The giant firing needle warship crashed into the barbarian warship. The firing needle was a sacred level magic ship. Its attacks were shockingly powerful. The barbarian warship couldn't escape in time. If it was hit, everyone on the ship would die. If Manjuang didn't have the godly power, he would also be in trouble. This again, Clawcrow was furious. He came forward to block the firing needle. But because of this, he revealed a flaw. Mudo took advantage of the situation and attacked him. He spat out blood again. Mudo, if you have the guts, fight me fair and square. Clawcrow roared. Mudo smiled. Attack the enemy's weakness. This is the art of war. I will kill this group of people. You can't stop me. I will kill them all in front of you. Ha ha ha. Mudo attacked again. He could pierce through space. He appeared and disappeared like a ghost. His attacks were sharp. Just as the barbarian warship was about to be destroyed in his hands, a loud voice resounded. Please stay your hands. My brothers are still on the ship. Mudo and Clawcrow's expressions changed. They turned to look at the sky. They saw where the sea met the sky. A pirate fleet slowly sailed over. The size of the fleet was huge. There were hundreds and thousands of ships. Their flags swayed in the wind. Its boss, in the prison at the bottom of the barbarian warship, Feng Yao suddenly sat up from his bed. Boss! Dusty was also very excited. Firebeard! Mudo was stunned. Then he laughed coldly. Do you think I will stop just because you say so? You want me, an admiral, to stop? Because of your appearance, there is one more reason to destroy this ship. Die! Mudo used his fighting technique. The barbarian warship couldn't dodge. Clawcrow dragged the throne over and blocked in front of the fighting technique. Mudo suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already hovering above the barbarian warship. He raised his hands above his head, as if he was lifting something heavy. Then he suddenly jumped up. The veins on his hands popped out. He grabbed the invisible space and threw it down. Fighting technique, throwing empty mountain, an invisible mountain pressed down. At the same time, the surrounding space also locked down the barbarian warship. It was like an insect trapped in amber. It couldn't move at all. Even Manzhuang was no exception. Damn it, it's too late. Clawcrow couldn't help in time. He could only watch. But in the next moment, the sky changed color. Clawcrow and Mudo's eyes suddenly turned red. The air became extremely hot. The blue sea turned into a vast sea of fire in the blink of an eye. The flames rose and burned. It burned the barbarian warship. Mudo and Clawcrow's expressions changed. They quickly ran away. Then, Firebeard's calm voice resounded. No one dares to kill my brothers in front of me. I'm angry. Chapter 379. In the sea of fire, the flames burned fiercely. Combat technique, cold birds. Clawcrow's body was spewing out combat energy. The combat energy flowed like water, and countless cold birds flew out from it. The cold birds were divided into 3 groups. One group flew around Clawcrow as if they were protecting him, another group attacked by Tong, and the last group attacked Firebeard from afar. However, the Dochi frostbirds that were flying above the sea of fire started to spontaneously combust after a short 1 minute. The cold birds burned into balls of fire and struggled in the air. They turned into firebirds and changed their direction of attack. They attacked Clawcrow, Baitong, and the rest of the barbarians. How can this be? Clawcrow was shocked. After his combat energy was burned, he lost all connection and became Firebeard's property. My understanding of cold and freezing is completely crushed by him. Firebeard, this guy is probably close to God. Clawcrow could only defend in a hurry against the firebirds that flew over. Baitong's side was not much better. He gritted his teeth, opened up space, and sent the striker away. In just a short while, the striker was already showing signs of melting. This was a sacred-level magic ship, but it had no power to resist in the sea of fire. Baitong could only send it away. Not only that, even he himself felt extremely hot. If he did not use all his combat energy to suppress it, he would have burned up. His understanding of fire, burning, and other concepts is too deep. Even the space around me is melting. Firebeard, he really lives up to his name. Baitong was an admiral of the Navy. Before he joined the Navy, he had always heard of Firebeard's name. At that time, he was only a sacred level. He joined the Navy, became a legend, and became an admiral. He led one of the 4 major factions in the Navy. Relying on his bloodline and the convenience of space manipulation, he had always been doing well. He had long wanted to challenge a senior like Firebeard. But this time, when he really fought with Firebeard, he realized that although he and Firebeard were both legends, he was far from being the opponent of the latter. Powerful, too powerful. Firebeard is probably very close to the level of God. No wonder there are rumors that the fire gods of the Shengming continent, the lava continent, and the wild continent are all looking for trouble with Firebeard. Firebeard was so powerful that he had become a thorn in the side of the fire gods. Why should I fight such a tyrant head-on? Let the fire gods find trouble with him. I only have one goal here, and that is the blue charm divine throne. Baitong used all of his strength and displayed his trump card Do skill. In the next moment, the space was in chaos. Billions of space fragments swept across the entire battlefield, drowning the barbarians' battleship, the Clawcrow, and Baitong himself. The angry roar of the Clawcrow could be heard from the endless space fragments. Then, boom, a violent explosion occurred, and for a moment, the sky turned into a blazing white color. It was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. The aftermath of the all-out fight between the 2 legends struck the barbarian warship. The barbarian battleship was melted by the white light, like snow under the sun, turning into dust. The barbarian warriors on the battleship were also reduced to dust. Manzhuang tried his best to resist, but at the critical moment, a bloody shadow appeared beside him and took him away. The incandescent light corroded almost all of the barbarian battleships and spread to the front of Feng Yao, Yi, and the other prisoners. We're finished. Feng Yao, Yi, and the others' faces were ashen. Their bodies melted in the white light. In the blink of an eye, more than half of their bodies had disappeared. However, right at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. He looked at Feng Yao. Feng Yao was covered in ash, and his entire body was emitting a faint fiery light. Because of this, the blazing white light did not move an inch. First Master, boss. It was Firebeard. His head and chin were bald, and he didn't even have eyebrows. He looked fierce and heroic, but also a little strange. His figure was tall and burly, and his muscles were like blocks of stone. However, he was not bloated like a bear, but rather very tall and majestic. He was wearing the attire of a pirate captain, with a broken scimitar hanging from his waist. The hilt of the scimitar was like the head of a phoenix, and the body of the scimitar was like the tail of a phoenix. The scimitar exuded a god-level aura. It was a divine weapon. It was a half-damage divine artifact, Roaring Tailblade. It's all right, brothers. I'm here. Firebeard smiled at Feng Yao and Ash. His palm rested on the hilt of the roaring tail saber, and the phoenix head spewed out golden flames. The flames flowed onto Feng Yao and Ash's bodies, forming two fiercely burning torches. The torches parted the surrounding white light, and Feng Yao and Ash's bodies were quickly healed. Very quickly, their bodies were as good as new, and there were no injuries on their bodies. When the white light dissipated, the phoenix flames also dissipated. Feng Yao and Ash's bodies were still alive, and their condition was extremely good. They scanned the battlefield, and Bai Tong and Zhuayu were already nowhere to be seen. Other than them, there were many other captives who were also healed by the phoenix flames and survived. These captives were supported by Firebeard's Do Chi and were temporarily suspended in the air. The sea of flames from before had already disappeared, and the battlefield returned to its normal state. Master Firebeard, you saved me. Please let me join your fleet. I am also willing to follow you. First Master, Blue Charm Divine Throne is gone. Ash's body said nervously. Firebeard shook his head. Bai Tong snatched him away, and Zhuayu saved the barbarian's sacred domain. Boss, it's all my fault. If not for saving us, Blue Charm Divine Throne would definitely be yours. The two of them are no match for you. Feng Yao's expression was guilty. Firebeard patted his shoulder. It's all right. For my brother, what's a mere Blue Charm Divine Throne? He laughed loudly, and his heroic spirit was admirable. It's not like that. Feng Yao grabbed his hair, extremely distressed. That's the divine throne of my beloved goddess. It was snatched away just like that. For my goddess, I must get it back. Boss, help me. My life's happiness depends on you. Firebeard, Ash's group, Blunt Blade City, dungeon. The torches burned, but they couldn't illuminate the cell. The person in charge of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce in Blunt Blade City was on the verge of death, and his body was covered in wounds. The ones who were interrogating him were a group of Imperial spies. Tell me, how did you transport those alchemy bombs into the city and then set them up? The spy's leader's gaze was cold. I really didn't. The person in charge of the shop shook his head and cried. You didn't? Without a local like you, how could the alchemy bombs be so fast and secretly placed all over Blunt Blade City? If you confess now, you'll suffer less. The spy's leader sneered. The person in charge only shook his head. I really don't know. Continue with the torture. The spy's leader sneered. Thus, the person in charge of the shop continued to howl miserably in the dungeon. However, no matter how much torture was used, the person in charge still didn't confess. This was because he knew very well that if he showed weakness in this aspect, not only himself, but also his entire family would be implicated. I don't know anything about these alchemy bombs. Without your secret cooperation, how could the Justice Pirates have set up these alchemy bombs in such a short time? Could it be that your family, the other families, or even the mayor himself set them up? The person in charge wailed. I've already told you everything I know. That night, I received orders from the higher-ups of the Wisteria Merchant Guild and verified their elder tokens. That was why I received them. How could I have known that they were the lackeys of the alien gods? Seeing that he couldn't get anything new from the interrogation, the spy's leader had to drag the unlucky person in charge away. Leader, what should we do next? Should we investigate the mayor or the other families? The spies team walked out of the dungeon. The spies leader shook his head. I'm only at the silver level. In their territory, I'd better be careful. Fortunately, we've already found something this time. Did you bring the thing? Yes. The subordinate immediately replied. The spies leader saw a pile of fragments. These were the fragments of the communication magic device. During the interrogation, the person in charge told ZD and the others in detail about their itinerary after entering the city that night. He also told them that she had used the magic device to communicate. However, the person in charge had stayed outside the door at that time and didn't know who ZD was communicating with. The day after the black market auction, the person in charge found that the magic communication device in the shop had broken down. He asked someone to repair it, but there was a mini explosion and the whole communication device was blown into a pile of fragments. The spies leader picked up a small piece of fragment, but couldn't observe anything. He couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Sir, can we report these things? The subordinates were also worried. The spies leader said, First, hand over the things we interrogated and these fragments. We have to stay here for the time being and wait for new orders from above. The military port, Navy headquarters. The space broke open, and Bai Tong stepped in and returned here. He was in pain and lifted his clothes. He saw that most of his skin had been burned red, and the burns were serious. Firebeard. When he thought of the tall and burly figure, Bai Tong's heart was full of fear. If it wasn't for Feng Yao, Ash, and the others who restrained him, I wouldn't have been able to get the blue charm divine throne. This guy's a monster. He had already drunk the potion, but it had little effect. To treat this kind of injury, he had to go to the temple to seek treatment. There were several temples in the military port. Bai Tong put down his clothes, covered all the injuries on his body, and walked out of the room. Sensing Bai Tong's return, the Marines who stayed here were very surprised and immediately reported all kinds of information to him. The Justice Pirates were still escaping, and Wei Sheng's huge fleet was chasing after them. A Marine saint had already caught a clue and was personally pursuing the Justice Pirates. There was also news from Bishop Halford and Bluntblade City. Bai Tong was a little surprised. He saw the report of the spy team interrogating the person in charge of the wisteria shop. That night, the Justice Pirates used the magic communication device to contact someone. The communication device was destroyed, and these fragments are also clues. As long as we can get the Alchemy Grandmaster, we will be able to find out. Bai Tong's eyes flashed, and he instantly decided to investigate thoroughly. This clue was extremely valuable. Chapter 380. The spy team was of a lower level and did not know the truth about the Justice Pirates, but Bidhong was very clear. Usually, when the magic communication device is damaged to this extent, the investigation can no longer be carried out. But because it involved a foreign god, the Empire will definitely use all their resources to investigate. Most alchemists will not be able to obtain anything from these fragments. But it's different for an alchemist grandmaster. Alchemists were very rare, and even the Sacred Empire only had a few of them. Bidong himself did not have many connections and could use his own name to ask an alchemist for help. However, as long as he reported this key information, he believed that the Empire would definitely send an alchemist. I have a feeling that the Justice Pirates contacted someone in the middle of the night must be someone important in the Empire. When it comes to colluding with a foreign god, even a duke will be judged. Blue Charm God was an enemy of the Sacred Empire and was already confirmed. Even a duke would not be able to protect himself if he committed treason. This crucial piece of information was quickly reported to the higher-ups. The Empire's higher-ups immediately responded. The request to investigate the contact was quickly sent to the alchemists in the Empire. Night Spirit sees. Blue sky, white clouds, and a gentle breeze. Boom, boom, boom. A giant paddle with two heads was held in the hands of a giant as it dove into the sea. Each time, it created waves more than 3 meters high. A middle-aged human man was lying on the deck, looking at the blue sky and white clouds, enjoying the beautiful scenery of countless sparkling water droplets dancing in the air. Seems like it's good to go out to sea occasionally, the middle-aged man muttered. Yes, master. The ship's spirit's mechanical voice sounded. The middle-aged man was handsome and wore a gorgeous magic robe. The coat of arms on the surface of the robe showed that he was of noble origin, the Steel Pound family. On the other hand, it showed that he was at the pinnacle of alchemy, a Grandmaster Alchemist. That's right, this was the Grandmaster Alchemist of the Steel Pound family, Tucker. The ship spirit's voice sounded again. Master, there's a message from your teacher. Oh, tell me about it. Tucker sat up. The ship spirit's voice changed and became the same as his teacher's. After listening to all the contents of this communication, Tucker's face flashed with a strange color. Just as pirates? Teacher is really something. It was clearly a mission assigned to him by the Empire, but in the end, he handed it to me. It's going to be really difficult for me to find the mysterious contact among the broken pieces of magical devices. For a moment, Tucker frowned in distress. He still had a long way to go before he could become an alchemy grandmaster, but this time his teacher assigned him this task in the form of a test. If you give me 2 or 3 years, I will definitely be able to complete this test. However, although the teacher didn't say it explicitly, as long as you use your brain and think about it a little, you will know that there is a time limit to this exam. Most of the difficulty lies in this aspect. Tucker returned to the cabin and looked at the pile of debris that had been teleported over. He fell in a deep thought. What should we do? If I were to completely repair this magic communication device, I might be able to find clues, or I might be able to repair it into a brand new magic communication device. What if I use alchemy to refine these pieces and specifically extract the information from them? But if the core fragments are completely mixed in, there will be a lot of information, and it will be chaotic. It will take even longer to sort out. Just as Tucker was thinking, the voice of the ship's spirit rang out. A shipwreck has been found 6 nautical miles ahead. Oh, let me see. Tucker soon saw a magic image. Ship spirit. According to speculation, the probability of a tsunami is as high as 80%. Tucker nodded slightly. Sailing on the sea is not just about sea beasts and strong enemies. Sometimes the anger of nature is even more despairing. Ship spirit. Would you like to carry out rescue work? Tucker smiled. Of course, but it's not that easy to board my Iron Giant. Broadcast to me that only those who can afford a ticket can board my ship. Ship spirit. Understood, my master. And in the gradually sinking shipwreck, the crowd was already cheering. We're saved. I told you, there are a lot of passing ships on our route. What kind of ship is this? It looks so weird. Overwhelmed by surprise, the crowd discussed animatedly while loudly calling for help. Among the crowd was the leader of the 100 Needles family. Leader. Armtile stood next to the leader of the 100 Needles family and said in a low voice, "It seems to be the Iron Giant." The leader of the 100 Needles family nodded. Indeed, as one of the nobles, he knew a lot about the upper echelons of the empire. The leader of the 100 Needles family paid more attention to people like Tucker. At this moment, the 100 Needles family looked into the distance and saw that the Iron Giant was sailing directly toward them with double-headed oars. The Iron Giant had a strange appearance. Its hull was similar to a canoe, but the hull was made of steel. The hull of the ship was replaced by an alchemy puppet. The alchemy puppet only had an upper body. It was a giant 5 or 6 meters tall. The giant held a long double-headed oar in his hand. Every time the head of the oar hit the surface of the water, it would smash a hill-like wave. As the Iron Giant approached, the voice of the ship spirit came out. This is the ship of the Steel Pound family, Earl Tucker. If you want a ticket, please pay 80 gold coins or something of equivalent value. What? 80 gold coins? That's too much. This is robbery. This is a gold magic ship. Is the big shot on board so stingy? The crowd was in an uproar. At the same time, the ship spirit said in the cabin, a high-value target has been found in the crowd. Oh, let me see. Tucker focused his eyes and began to glow. So, it's the leader of the 100 Needles family. Why is he here? Just as the leader of the 100 Needles family knew Tucker, Tucker was no stranger to the leader of the 100 Needles family. The ship's spirit said, analyzing. Analysis complete. The only heir of the Hundred Needles family, Templar Jinjin, disappeared at sea a few months ago. The Hundred Needles family tried their best to rescue him and issued a large reward, but they never found Jun Jin's whereabouts. The possibility that the leader of the Hundred Needles family entered the Night Spirit Sea to look for his son and heir, Jun Jin, is as high as 75%. I see. Tucker nodded. Ship Spirit, I want to speak. The ship spirit said, the broadcast device is ready. The next moment, Tucker's voice became extremely loud and enveloped the surrounding area. Hello, leader of the Hundred Needles family. I'm Earl Tucker himself. I'm honored to meet you here. How many 9 mystical swords do you carry with you? As long as you can let me admire these swords for a moment, you can board the ship for free. You don't have to pay 600 gold coins to be rescued. Hearing this, the arm tile was furious and shouted, Isn't it 80 gold coins? Tucker laughed. The leader of the Hundred Needles family is naturally worth more than a commoner. Damn it. The arm tile clenched his fists. There was a commotion in the crowd, and everyone looked at the leader of the Hundred Needles family and the arm tile. After receiving the blackmail letter, the leader of the Hundred Needles family had been hiding his whereabouts and rushing to Flame Spray Island at full speed. But now his identity was exposed. The leader of the Hundred Needles family patted the arm tile's shoulder calmly and motioned for him to relax. This is Tucker's character. He didn't mean to target me, but has always followed the principle of fair exchange. Let's board the ship. Time is of the essence. At the mention of time, the anger on the arm tile's face immediately disappeared. It couldn't be helped. It was about Jun Jin's death, which was an important matter for the Hundred Needles family. Alas, I hope this ship is close to our route. Otherwise, we'll have to turn to another dock and board the ship again. The arm tile was very worried. The blackmail letter had urged them to board the ship urgently, but it seemed that accidents were more likely to happen in an emergency. They were shipwrecked midway. Soon, the leader of the Hundred Needles family, as well as a limited number of survivors who could afford tickets, boarded the steel giant. Most people stayed on the sinking ship. Unable to afford tickets, they could only watch the steel giant go away. It wasn't until the ship disappeared on the horizon that this group of people began to curse. Chapter 381. In the middle of the night, the storm was howling, and the strange waves were rolling. The steel giant crashed in the stormy waves, and the hill-like waves were smashed by the giant puppets. Tucker, the Hundred Needles patriarch, and the others were in the captain's cabin. Their bodies were jolted up and down along with the cabin, but the jolts weren't big. The patriarch of the Hundred Needles clan glanced around at the various alchemy facilities in the captain's cabin. He was amazed. This magic ship is only gold now, but it looks like it has a complete set of facilities and great potential for further development. This ship spirit was made by him. Gold is definitely not the end of this magic ship. Tucker, on the other hand, was carefully observing the short sword in his hand. This short sword was about twice as long as a dagger. The blade was like a ruler and had a unique shape. The tip of the blade was straight and had no edge. There were no edges on either side of the blade, so it could be pinched at will without worrying about scratching the skin. The material of the blade was also very unique, reflecting Tucker's tightly knitted brows. The image was incomparably clear, like a mirror of the best quality. The whole short sword exuded a sanctuary-level aura. This was a very high-level alchemy weapon. Tucker's spirit kept shuttling back and forth in the short sword, savoring its structure, dense and delicate alchemy arrays, and various magic runes. After a long time, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and stopped his spirit exploration. With a trace of exhaustion, he sincerely praised, as expected of one of the main swords of the 9 mystical swords. What about the other 2 main swords? Tucker looked at the Hundred Needles patriarch. The Hundred Needles patriarch shook his head. Of the remaining 2 main swords, one, Illuminator, was lost long ago, and the other, Pearl Plucker, was seized in the battlefield. It's currently a trophy of a high-ranking imperial official. The only main sword left in my clan is this reflector mirror. In its heyday, the 100 Needles Patriarch was a powerful force in the south of the Sacred Continent and had Earl-level territory. The 100 Needles Patriarch gathered a great reward and invited an elf alchemy grandmaster to personally refine the 9 mystical swords. The 9 swords could be divided and combined. When they were divided, there were 3 sanctuary-level main swords of different lengths and 6 sub-swords, all of which were gold weapons. Zhun Jin Sword, Silver Lightning, was one of them. When the 9 swords were combined, they could form a legendary greatsword. Not seeing the other 2 main swords, Tucker suddenly looked regretful, but soon he stared at the 100 Needles Chief with hopeful eyes. "Chief, how many secondary swords do you have?" The head of the 100 Needles clan was silent for a moment. "Only 2. Quick, show it to me," Tucker said happily. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan drew a sword from his body. This is the Golden Sun Sword. The shape of the Golden Sun Sword was very mainstream. Its length and thickness were all very standard. The body of the sword seemed to be made of gold. It emitted a faint golden halo, giving people the feeling of a sword of the king. The chief of the 100 Needles tribe handed the sword to Tucker, who immediately checked it with his spirit. He clicked his tongue and said, "Wonderful, wonderful. What else?" "There's also a lead cloud sword, but it's damaged," said the chief of the 100 Needles tribe, gesturing to the arm tile next to him. The arm reluctantly drew his sword and handed it to Tucker as well. The lead cloud sword was lead gray and very simple. There were layers of cloud patterns on the body of the sword, as if it had been hammered thousands of times by a master blacksmith. There were a lot of gaps on both sides of the lead cloud sword. These gaps varied in size, giving the originally flat blade an irregular sawtooth shape. Tucker held the 3 swords and was in trance for a moment. His eyes were shining, and his spirit was severely exhausted. Sometimes he looked at the main sword, and sometimes he stared at the 2 secondary swords. He frowned and fell into deep thought, as if he had encountered a peerless problem. Suddenly, Tucker shouted, "I got it!" The next moment, he instilled his magic power into the 3 swords. Seeing this, the arm tile immediately cried out nervously, "Watch out!" Tucker turned a deaf ear to him and stared at the 3 swords. Under the infusion of his magic power, the 3 swords gradually emitted a halo. The halo of each sword was different. The mirror reverse sword was bright, the lead cloud sword was gray, and the golden sun sword was golden sunlight. When the halo gradually expanded to the size of a wash basin, the 3 swords left Tucker's hands and slowly floated into the air. Tucker raised his head slightly and stared at the 3 swords. He suddenly smiled. "So it's like this." With a thought, he actually activated the alchemy array within. The array was activated, and the runes inside were activated. The Golden Sun Sword and the Lead Cloud Sword were suddenly attracted to the side of the Mirror Reverse Sword like magnets. The halo of the 3 swords began to shrink and shrink, gradually converging into the swords themselves. Gradually, the original appearance of the 3 swords could not be seen. There was only golden light and lead gray. As for the Mirror Reverse Sword, its brilliance disappeared and began to reflect the golden light and lead gray light. You. Seeing this scene, the arm tile cried out in a low voice. Tucker's mind moved, and the Mirror Reverse Sword began to fly unsteadily. The other 2 swords maintained around the main sword and flew with it. The face of the 100 Needles Patriarch, who had been calm all this time, changed slightly, and a touch of worry gradually appeared in his heart. Tucker laughed out loud, as if he had figured out a problem. As expected of the work of an alchemy grandmaster, I didn't know that an alchemy array could be designed and used like this. He withdrew his spirit and magic power, and the 3 swords fell into his hands again. Tucker returned the Mirror Reverse Sword and the Golden Sun Sword to the 100 Needles Patriarch, leaving only the Lead Cloud Sword. He stroked the blade that was full of small gaps with his fingers and smiled. The Lead Cloud Sword is a bit damaged, and there are obvious flaws in its coordination with the other 2 swords. I'll fix it now. Huh, the arm tile exclaimed in a low voice. He was about to stop Tucker, but the Hundred Needles Patriarch reached out and stopped him. Tucker didn't look at the two in front of him. His magic power surged all over his body, and a three-dimensional alchemy array rose around him. He was in the middle of the array, surrounded by runes, and the ritual was running, producing pitch-black flames. The black flames burned on the surface of the lead cloud sword. Countless materials were transported from the bottom of the cabin according to the array and appeared out of thin air. They were quickly processed by Tucker and added to the black flames. The black flames dissipated, revealing the repaired, flat blade. The next moment, he stopped using magic power, dissipated the array, and threw the lead cloud sword back to the arm tile. "Take it. I fixed it." Tucker smiled confidently. The arm tile was skeptical, but he immediately infused his warrior power. The result was unbelievable. He was very surprised. "Really? Let me see." The Hundred Needles Patriarch drew out his main sword. The mirror reverse sword received the warrior power of the Hundred Needles Patriarch and immediately became transparent, reflecting the external light. Being summoned, the lead cloud sword immediately left the arm tile's hand and floated back to the mirror reverse sword. Both swords emitted a halo of light, and their auras were faintly connected. "It's really fixed." The Hundred Needles Patriarch was shocked. He looked at Tucker again and was impressed. "I've heard of your reputation for a long time, but I didn't expect to meet you in person. We tried to fix the lead cloud sword many times, and we know how difficult it is. I didn't expect it to be so easy in your hands." The Hundred Needles Patriarch praised Tucker again and again. "How can I repay you? How can I express my gratitude?" Tucker laughed and waved his hand. "No need to thank me. It's a fair deal. Just like the ship ticket, I saved you because of your value. That's why the price of your ship ticket is so high. I've learned a lot from these three swords. My teacher assigned me a test question before, but I had no clue at all. It was very difficult. When I saw this combination of alchemy arrays, I got a key inspiration and a novel and correct way to solve the question. If it was any other time, the things I learned would not be worth it for me to personally repair this sword. But to solve the test question, this knowledge just happened to solve my urgent need. So I repaired this lead cloud sword myself. It's a return of equal value." The Hundred Needles Patriarch suddenly understood. "I see." Tucker was in a good mood after solving the problem in front of him. The Patriarch and the arm tile were more pleasing to the eye. He said with a smile, "Where are you going next?" "My destination is the fire-breathing island. This time, I'm going to meet the owner of the fire-breathing island and ask her to refine the lower body of the giant puppet. If it's not far, I can take you to your destination." The arm tile was shocked. Their destination was the fire-breathing island. But the Hundred Needles Patriarch shook his head. "Our destination is the vertical island." Tucker thought for a moment and said regretfully, "Then I can't take you there. The vertical island is far from the fire-breathing island, and my time is limited. But both sides are on the same route. You can take other ships at the fire-breathing island." The Hundred Needles Patriarch and the arm tile hurriedly thanked him. Chapter 382. Early morning. There was a thin mist on the sea, and the sound of the tide was heard. The treasure chest slowly moved forward in the mist. Rear Admiral Tan Mo, take a look at this information. Just after breakfast, the mayor came to the captain's room with a worried look. Tan Mo took the information and skimmed it. The specific content of the information was about the follow-up development in Blunt Blade City. The spy team entered and not only detained the store manager of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce and tortured him, but they also implicated other people and searched the location where the alchemy bomb was installed. The spies are still investigating. We work together to set up the crime scene. They won't find anything, will they? The mayor of Blunt Blade City frowned. He regretted it now. If he knew that the Empire's investigation was so big, he wouldn't have colluded with Tan Mo. Tan Mo's expression also changed slightly. The Empire's investigation was still going on, and it was getting more and more intense, which made him more and more surprised. However, the most important thing now was to stabilize the gold power in front of him. The next moment, Tan Mo smiled and nodded to the mayor. The situation is a bit wrong. A bit? It's obviously very wrong. The mayor shook his head. Joe was killed by the Justice Pirates, and the 3 captains of the King Glory clan also lost their lives. The Empire is still investigating everything about the Justice Pirates. What happened to these pirates? We are now chasing them. Don't you have any inside information? At this point, don't hide it from me. The mayor knew that Tan Mo was a member of Igue's faction. Tan Mo rubbed his chin and thought about this matter. Since he received a direct military order from the Marine on Knife Mountain Island, he felt that something was wrong. Why would a silver-level pirate group need 2 rear admirals and even the mayor of Blunt Blade City to capture them? Joe was dead, and the 3 captains of the King Glory clan also died. Tan Mo did no more information than the mayor of Blunt Blade City. Tan Mo knew the cause of Joe's death, and he felt sorry for him. If it wasn't for his carelessness, the Murloc godson would have to pay a higher price to kill Joe. The deaths of Yao Wan, Yao Ming, and Yao Gue made Tan Mo feel a chill in his heart. The 3 men desperately tried to hold back the Justice Pirates. As a result, the reinforcements did not rush to the battlefield at all. Instead, they went directly to Tianju CEI. Bai Tong toyed with Wei Sheng, causing Admiral Yin Tan to lose even more face. The political confrontation between the 2 factions entered an even more intense stage. If they hadn't tried their best to stall for time, the 3 members of the Glorious King's family would have been able to escape successfully with their glorious light rush. Sigh, the higher-ups are obviously hiding a lot of things. For the Justice Pirates, I'd better not provoke them. With this thought in mind, Tan Mo deliberately slowed down the speed of the fleet. Of course, he didn't do it directly. Instead, he changed his course and deliberately drove into the fog to get a reasonable excuse. Tan Mo looked at the mayor of Blunt Blade City. I know as much as you do. I asked General Gue about it, but I didn't get a response. However, we don't have to be too anxious. The spy is not investigating us, but the Justice Pirates. Although General Gue didn't directly answer my doubts, she also told me that she had sent Vice Admiral Bitterwater. Lord Bitterwater specializes in water spells and minor in divination. At present, he has already captured the whereabouts of the Justice Pirates. We are still a long way from the Justice Pirates. Plus, we were attacked by sea beasts in the fog. I'm afraid we have to rest again. At this point, Tan Mo raised his eyebrows at the mayor of Blunt Blade City. The mayor of Blunt Blade City froze for a moment and immediately nodded. Yes, we were attacked by powerful sea beasts and can only rest. Where should we rest? Tan Mo smiled. I've already thought about it. After passing through the fog, the ideal port to rest is on Flame Island. Flame Island? The mayor of Blunt Blade City reacted and praised this decision. That's really good. This island used to be one of the bridgeheads for the demons to invade the main world. Now the island is heavily guarded, and there are 3 ports and 8 docks. Among them, the Sulphur Flame Port is a large port. It is indeed very suitable for us to replenish and rest. The sea was calm. The floaty was stealthily moving a dozen meters underwater. As the captain of the floaty, Vice Admiral Bitterwater of the Imperial Navy was currently in a meditation room. He was a middle-aged human male with slanted eyebrows and small eyes. He always gave off a feeling of distress. At this moment, there was a basin in front of him. The basin was filled with water. He held a small magic staff in his hand. The reddish-brown staff was like a tree branch, only as long as an arm. The thickest part of the staff was no thicker than an adult man's thumb. Vice Admiral Bitterwater was constantly chanting an incantation. His voice was very soft, almost like a whisper. This time, it wasn't just an incantation, but also a hand gesture. His wrist gently moved, following a mysterious and wonderful pattern. The tip of the reddish-brown staff moved in the air. Wherever the tip of the staff went, rays of light would be left in the air. The rays of light were connected to each other, some straight and some curved, gradually drawing a mysterious rune. The rune emitted a faint light. After it was completed, it no longer hovered in the air, but slowly fell. Like a feather, it fell into the water basin. In the blink of an eye, it dissolved in the water, completely dissipating. This was already the third rune that Bitterwater had drawn. Each rune was different, and each of them had their own profound meanings. Vice Admiral Bitterwater stopped chanting. Looking at the mirror-like water surface in the basin, he took a deep breath, slightly adjusted himself, and then began chanting again. This time, his chanting voice was several times louder than before. All of the magic energy in his body continuously surged, pouring into the magic staff, accumulating and accumulating in the magic staff. After accumulating to the limit, Bitterwater's body trembled, and the tip of the magic staff suddenly erupted with a strange light. The strange light was resplendent and dazzling, like a bolt of lightning shooting into the basin. The basin was like a painting, the water surface without any ripples. The strange light was like paint, multicolored as it entered the canvas, leaving behind dazzling traces along the way. The various colors and lines were not similar, forming a sharp and abrupt contrast with each other. Soon after, these colors also dissipated. Gradually, a magic rune appeared in the basin. This rune was different from the previous 3 runes, but if one looked closely, they would find that some parts of the 3 runes had similar patterns appearing in this rune. Bitterwater's gaze immediately focused on this rune, and he quickly and seriously interpreted it. Soon, the rune dissipated. Bitterwater relaxed, his face filled with exhaustion. This was his divination magic. The result of this divination was great. According to this divination, now is the best time for me to attack. Vice Admiral Bitterwater hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still clapped his hands. Igwe-sama pays a lot of attention to the Justice Pirates. Chop Joe and the others have been killed. If I take down this pirate group, Igwe-sama will definitely praise me. Let's do it. Vice Admiral Bitterwater walked out of the meditation room, quickly went to the captain's room, and gave the order to fight. The Justice Pirates' magic ship sailed on the surface of the sea. Suddenly, several alchemy marlins came from the bottom of the water. These marlins plunged into the hull of the ship, and the bombs installed in the fish quickly activated, forming a violent explosion. Enemy attack. Suma was the first to notice and shouted loudly. The Justice Pirates' magic ship shook violently in the explosion. The pirates swarmed out, and the door of the captain's room opened. The Murloc Shinsi, Cho, Flute, and the others spoke out, commanding the pirates to fight. In the float, Vice Admiral Bitterwater's face was cold, and he gave the order again to release the alchemy marlins. This time, more marlins rushed to the bottom of the pirate ship. On the pirate ship, the sailors poured ice blue oil on the side of the ship. The oil merged into the sea, and the explosive power of the alchemy marlins was greatly reduced. Some of the marlins could not even self-destruct. The Navy's offensive effect was immediately reduced. Vice Admiral Bitterwater frowned. He was not troubled, but puzzled. Strange, the other party's higher-ups did not make a move. It's understandable that the gold-level magic ship did not appear. The other party's powerhouses did not make a move, and only used this method to mitigate the attack. The effect was not good. Even if the silver-level bards did not make a move, what about the black iron mages? They did not make a move? Vice Admiral Bitterwater continued to give orders, and the Navy changed their attack method. After a few consecutive times, the Justice Pirate situation was getting worse and worse, and they were at a disadvantage. The gold-level deep-sea monster fish never appeared, and the higher-ups of the island had been commanding and never personally went out to fight. Not only did the Navy feel that something was wrong, but even the pirates felt that something was wrong. Finally, Vice Admiral Bitterwater personally cast a spell and released a few gold-level water elementals. The pirates were immediately defeated, and there was a large-scale surrender. The truth of many members of the Justice Pirates was also exposed, and they were all illusions. They ran away. The magic ships we left behind are just a pretense. I was deceived. The result of my divination before was wrong. No wonder the divination before the war was good. They must have secretly boarded the fish-shaped magic ship. Looking at the performance of these pirates, they were also kept in the dark. Vice Admiral Bitterwater sighed, and immediately understood that although they won the battle, they could not get the credit. After ordering his subordinates to clean up the battlefield and lock up the captives, he immediately returned to the meditation room and began to continue his divination. He wanted to divine the whereabouts of deep-sea monster fish. However, after 3 consecutive divinations, the process of each divination was very smooth, but the results were different each time. Someone is interfering with me. I'm afraid none of these 3 results are correct. What should I do now? Vice Admiral Bitterwater frowned and could not think of a solution. In desperation, he had to report this result to Admiral Igue. Chapter 383. The bright sunlight shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows into the bedroom. On the soft bed, a blonde beauty slowly opened her beautiful eyes after a good night's sleep. She didn't get up immediately. Instead, she lay down on the warm and fluffy bedding. She used her mind, and the magic device placed in the corner of the bedroom started to operate slowly, playing a relaxing and cheerful tune. She enjoyed the sunlight for a long time before she sat up. Stretching her waist, the blonde beauty's proud and graceful figure was fully displayed at this moment. She lifted the bedding, put on her furry slippers, and walked to the wall of the bedroom. There was a magic mirror that was more than 2 meters tall placed there. The magic mirror's surface suddenly lit up, and a voice came from it. "Good morning, my beautiful mistress." The blonde beauty smiled, but with a hint of distress. "What should I wear today?" "Mirror spirit, tell me your suggestion." The mirror spirit said, "Mistress, no matter what you wear, you're still so beautiful. I suggest you wear this set today. This kind of tight leather clothes can show off your figure to the greatest extent. It's sexy with a hint of seriousness, majesty, and charm, especially now that the safety ship has arrived at the Voodoo Rainforest. This set of leather clothes is a saint-level leather armor. It's made from a mix of dragon skin, snake skin, and other leather, and has a high resistance to poison." "Oh," the blonde beauty was surprised. "We've already arrived at the Voodoo Rainforest." "Yes, mistress. It's 3 hours after you fell asleep." The mirror spirit replied, and a set of black and red tight leather clothes appeared on the surface of the mirror. The blonde beauty pointed at the mirror, and a ripple appeared on the surface of the mirror. The ripple spread from the center to the frame of the mirror and disappeared. The leather clothes in the mirror also disappeared, and in its place was a thin and smooth silk nightgown. This pink silk nightgown was what the blonde beauty wore when she woke up, and now she was wearing the tight leather clothes. The silk nightgown in the mirror disappeared, and the blonde beauty's current appearance began to appear. The blonde beauty stood in front of the magic mirror, swaying her body and posing in all kinds of ways. The leather clothes fit her snow-white skin perfectly, outlining her figure even more alluring. From her chest to her waist to her buttocks, her curves were extremely exaggerated. "Not bad, but it's not enough." The golden-haired beauty narrowed her eyes and smiled. Mirror Spirit immediately said, "Then I recommend this set of clothes, master." A nun's habit appeared in the mirror. This was also a sanctuary-level outfit. It had outstanding performance in terms of defending against spiritual attacks and dark magic. "Then put on this one." The blonde beauty reached out and pressed her hand on her chest. The leather coat on her body quickly dissipated, and the nun's habit in the mirror covered her body. This immediately added a lot of elegance and dignity to her. Her snow-white skin and clear eyes, in the black and white nun's habit, gave people a pure and peaceful feeling. "This is the second piece of clothing, but it's still not enough," the blonde beauty said. Another dress appeared on the mirror. This time, it was a princess dress with an exaggeratedly large hemline. The blonde beauty's eyes lit up. "I like this dress very much. Strange, why do I have this set of clothes?" Mirror Spirit immediately said, "This was offered by your subordinate, Vice Admiral Bitterwater, at the beginning of this month. As you can see, this is also a sanctuary-level armor. It can... Wait." The blonde beauty frowned slightly. "I remember that I sent Vice Admiral Bitterwater to hunt down the Justice Pirates. Now, how is the situation? Mirror Spirit immediately reported. According to Vice Admiral Bitterwater's latest report, he attacked the Justice Pirates. As a result, he found that the magic ships that were tracking him were a cover, a group of abandoned pirates. The main body of the Justice Pirates has already taken the monster fish magic ship and disappeared. At present, Vice Admiral Bitterwater is waiting for your further instructions. The blonde beauty was Igue, one of the 3 admirals of the Marine, a legendary mage. When Igue heard this news, he smiled. It's a pity, but for Bitterwater, maybe it's a good thing. After all, there's a goddess's body hidden in the Justice Pirates. Forget it this time. For the sake of the clothes he contributed, I won't punish him. Anyway, I don't expect much from him. Let him do as he sees fit. A moment later, Admiral Igue left the bedroom, pushed open the secret door above her head, stepped on the stairs, and came to the ship. Her safety ship was a sanctuary-level magic ship, but at the moment, from the outside, it was an ordinary small wooden ship. The small wooden ship didn't even have a roof, and only Igue was on board. At this time, Igue was wearing an exaggerated golden-pink princess dress. The skirt was loose, and a magic pendant lay on her snow-white chest. She was wearing long silk gloves, and in one hand she held up a parasol. The parasol was cute, small, and delicate, with white lace on the edge of the pink umbrella. The small wooden ship slowly moved in the thick green swamp. The surroundings were extremely dense rainforest, with layers of lush branches and leaves blocking the sun. The water vapor in the air was thick, forming a thin mist, humid and hot. Thick vines and green pythons were entangled, and it was difficult to distinguish. Red-faced baboons peeped in the bushes, and a group of parrots was startled and flew away with strange cries. After a few turns, the waterway came to an end. At the end was a wooden house, dilapidated from years of disrepair. A blonde beauty wearing a gorgeous princess dress, holding a cute parasol, smiled at the small wooden house and said, "Hee Emolau, I'm here to see you." The door of the wooden house immediately opened, and a female Naga rolled her eyes at Igue. "What are you doing here? We're good friends. Don't you welcome me?" Igue covered her heart with her hand. "I'm so sad." The female Naga Emolau sneered. "Come in. I already had a premonition that you would come. Is it for the Justice Pirates?" Igue's eyes lit up. "Emolau, you're indeed a legendary diviner. You're too amazing. I also have a diviner under me, and he can't compare to you at all." Are you talking about that Bitterwater?" "Yes, that useless man." With that, Igue walked into the wooden house. The small wooden hut contained a vast space. Igue was no exception. This wasn't her first time here. Near Spitfire Island, deep-sea monster fish slowly approached a beach. In the captain's room, "There are few people here. We only need to swim for a short distance, about 10 minutes, and we'll be on the island." ZD stroked a crystal ball. The image that appeared in the crystal ball was a barren beach. Song-Su suddenly opened the cabin door and rushed in. He was happy, holding dozens of pearl foam in his hand. "Our prayers worked. Look, this time we've gained a lot." In addition to the usual prayers, there was a more special prayer method. The specific ritual of this method varied according to the gods. According to the information collected in the Tower Spirit, the Justice Pirates carried out a special prayer. They divided a few magic ships and used them as bait to deceive the pirates and the Navy. Song-Su muttered, "According to the information, it seems that this time, at least one sanctuary-level existence was successfully deceived by us." The young Murloc sighed. "I hope Suma and the others can survive." ZD took the young man's hand. "If they follow us, they will die. On the contrary, this is the only way to survive. We all know the discipline of the Navy. The credit for capturing pirates is more than killing them. If they surrender, the chances of survival are very high." Alas, the young Murloc's tone was heavy. "Let's hurry up and get on Spitfire Island." Chapter 384. Rumble. Amidst the thunderous sound, a large amount of black smoke rose. Under the effect of the magic device, The black smoke did not spread in all directions. Instead, it rose straight up and gathered in the sky above Spitfire City, forming a thick black cloud that kept rolling. The young man, ZD, and the others looked up at this scene with surprise on their faces. Not long ago, they sneaked onto Spitfire Island and headed straight for Spitfire City in the southeast corner of the island. Spitfire Island was a super island that Knife Mountain Island could not compare to. There were 3 ports on the island and 1 city on land, Spitfire City. The latter was also the main city on the island and was huge in scale. Because Spitfire Island was the only super island in the nearby sea, it was responsible for the economic, military, cultural, and other functions of the hub. The young man, ZD, and the others were not conspicuous at all. Therefore, they successfully reached the gate of Spitfire City. However, they were about to face a test. At the gate of Spitfire City, there were 2 huge warrior statues that emitted a saint-level aura. They were 2 war statues. The statue on the left of the gate held a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. The statue on the right held a 2-handed, square-headed war hammer in both hands. Both statues lowered their heads slightly, as if in a state of deep sleep. At the feet of the statues were the city guards of Spitfire City. These city guards were also very tall, reaching at least 3 meters in height. All of them were clad in armor and had well-developed muscles. The mayor of Spitfire City is the fire giant AIU, a legendary mage who specializes in alchemy in the creation of statues. These 2 saint-level war golems must have been created by her. It is said that the city guards of Spitfire City are different from the other ports. They are only attacked by the giants, who are also AIU's clansmen and personal guards. Sang-soo explained slowly. He used to be the butler of a noble and knew the situation of each noble. Although Spitfire City was isolated in the sea, it was a major force in the Night Spirit Seas and was more important than the marquises in the Empire, especially in the current situation where the humans were attacking the beasts. AIU's tribe is the largest and the last giant tribe in the Shungming continent. Due to the might of the Shungming Emperor, AIU surrendered to protect her tribe. 1,000 years ago, when the demons attacked the main world, Spitfire Island was one of the demon army's bridgeheads. The space inside the volcano is connected to the abyss. After the army formed by the Shungming Empire defeated the demons on land, they killed their way here and captured Spitfire Island. Under AIU's request, the Sacred Emperor allowed AIU to lead the giant tribe to set up camp here. Spitfire City, Sulphur Flameport, and other places of demons, AIUs led by the giant tribe. Of course, the Shungming Empire of investment of the Shungming continent of Spitfire, of the Shungming Empire of the Empire of the Shungming of. With Sang-soo's narration, everyone had a better understanding of Flame Spray City. Of the Spitfire of the Shone, Zhongji's condition was deteriorating day by day and showed no signs of improvement. The young man and the others used all kinds of scrolls and potions to keep him alive. But now he was reaching his limit. However, fortunately, after successfully deceiving the Tower Spirit, the Justice Pirates obtained information about the key application of the Sapphire Golden Coffin. If they could build this array, the Justice Pirates would be able to raise the healing effect of the green liquid to a higher level. They would be able to escape from the Golden Sapphire Coffin for a short time and save the Shungs of Shungs. However, building this array required a lot of alchemy materials. Including the inventory of the deep-sea monster fish, there were still many gaps. Wait, the Spittle stopped Sandow. Let me go first. I have the blood core. Even if I'm discovered, I can escape at a critical moment. My lord. Lan Zhao immediately dissuaded him. Sang-soo also said, My lord, let Sandow go. You're the strongest person here. Yes, ZD added. If anything happens, you are the one who is the most capable of dealing with it among us. The Spittle was not a brave person. He pondered for a moment and slowly nodded to Sandow. Sandow slowly walked toward the city gate under everyone's gaze. After a rough interrogation by the giant city guards, He paid the entrance fee and successfully entered Spittle City. Seeing this, everyone let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that the pearl foam was effective. They had successfully deceived the city guards. After Sandow, Lan Zhao, Song Su, and the others passed through the city gate and entered Spittle City. However, just as the of the Spittle passed through, an accident occurred. Everyone's expression changed. At this moment, they felt the pearl foam on their bodies rapidly disappearing. The Spittle was not in danger. The Spittle successfully met up with everyone. He did not use the Murloc bloodline, nor was he in the form of a dragonoid. Instead, he changed into a human black iron bloodline. Everyone first dispersed and then met up in an alley at the end of the street. Just now, there must be a strong person targeting us and making a divination or prophecy, at least the legendary level. Otherwise, the pearl foam wouldn't have disappeared so quickly. We have to hurry. This time, we got a lot of pearl foam, but we can't afford such consumption. Sigh. It takes a lot of time and energy to collect the alchemy materials on the list. Let's check if Clan Leader 100 Needles is here first. At the same time, in the Voodoo Rainforest, the female Naga, Mo, was exhausted in the small wooden house. Her aura was obviously weakened. She looked at the soil in the wooden basin with a pale face. There was a grass doll upside down on the soil. Igue's expression was solemn. She witnessed the whole process. She saw with her own eyes that grass grew out of the soil. The grass condensed and twisted into the shape of a doll. However, the next moment, the grass doll fell into the soil. A few seconds later, it completely withered. Then, the withered grass spontaneously combusted without fire, burning the wooden basin and the soil. The soil was shaped in the flames, as if an invisible hand was kneading it. In the end, the soil in the wooden basin turned into a messy flow of mud. It was like a stream of water, but also like a group of entangled snakes. As you can see, the prediction has failed. Mo Lao opened a medicine bottle and poured a large mouthful of black liquid into her throat. Only then did her complexion improve a little. Igue nodded slightly. The other party is the Blue Charm Goddess. Her main job is to deceive and disguise. It's not surprising that she failed once. But her biggest source of faith has been destroyed. The Blue Charm Goddess sect is almost destroyed. The Navy is hunting the Murlocs in CI City everywhere. How long can she last? Mo Lao rolled his eyes. You still want me to do another divination? Do I want to die? Igue took out a potion. I brought you this longevity potion that can increase your lifespan. Mo Lao's eyes lit up. Even so, I can only do divination for you tomorrow. This is the rule. Igue looked anxious. Please, after tomorrow, the information about the secret transfer of the main body of the Justice Pirates will be completely exposed. We will lose the initiative. At that time, the Navy or the Empire's diviners will take action one after another. Mo Lao sighed. Rules are rules. This is not my rule, but the rule of the ancestral spirits. Unless you can take out a holy object, the ancestral spirits will continue to help me with divination. The voodoo sect that Mo Lao believed in did not worship a single god, but many ancestral spirits. Igue gritted his teeth and smiled bitterly. Where can I get a holy object of the voodoo sect? I told you to work hard to collect holy objects. In the end, you only search your clothes. Mo Lao snorted coldly. Igue complained. Didn't I work hard? I have collected information through many channels, but the holy objects of the Five Poison sect are too rare. What can I do? Beautiful ladies, is the holy object you're talking about the one in my hand? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Igue and Mo Lao's expressions changed drastically. They asked in unison, "Who is it?" Ladies, please don't panic. I have no ill intentions. The light and shadow changed, and an elf swordsman appeared out of thin air in the small wooden house. He was tall and thin, with a handsome appearance. He had slender ears and long green hair. He had a smile on his lips. His clothes were gorgeous, and there was a thin sword at his waist. The hilt of the sword was like a rosebud. Igue's expression changed again. He revealed the elf swordsman's identity in a deep voice. Hua Sheng. He was the great sword saint of the Wood Elves, a legendary pirate. He was as famous as Firebeard. Mo Lao reacted. His expression relaxed slightly, and a thought flashed through his mind. It's you. You can't be here to ask about the location of the Justice Pirates, right? That's right. Hua Sheng bowed slightly. He was elegant. Miss Mo Lao, I have to ask you for help this time. Where did you meet him? Igwe looked at Mo Lao, glaring with her beautiful eyes. Mo Lao shrugged. I'm just a diviner. You have to understand me. I've been working hard to collect the holy objects of the ancestral spirits. But in your eyes, those clothes are far more valuable than holy objects. At this moment, wisps of black fog squeezed in through the crack in the door. A voice came from the black fog. Oh, are there a lot of old friends here? Seeing the iconic dark magic, Igwe and Hua Sheng's expressions darkened. Mo Lao said, "Welcome, Asa." The black fog condensed into a human shape, but there were demon horns on his head. He held a staff in his hand and scanned the three with his blood-red eyes. Finally, his gaze focused on Mo Lao. His voice was hoarse and unpleasant. This time, I brought you 3 holy objects, the diviner of the voodoo sect. I just want to know one question. Where's the Justice Pirates? Igwe glared at Mo Lao again. You're also in contact with Asa? Mo Lao laughed, a little embarrassed. She patted her best friend's shoulder. It's a deal. Take it easy. Igwe crossed her arms. Hua Sheng, Asa, and Firebeard are left. The 3 legends of the pirates are all here. You've also hooked up with Firebeard, right? This time, it was Mo Lao's turn to glare. What do you mean hooked up? Please, I just want to collect holy objects. Maybe Firebeard should be here soon. But Hua Sheng shook his head. He won't be coming. Not long ago, he led his fleet out. After leaving the pirate city, he went straight to the eye of the sky pillar sea. According to my spies, he's already rescued Feng Yao and the others and obtained the first line of information. Then he split his fleet into a dozen or so teams with different routes. He probably already knows the location of the Justice Pirates. We have to stop him. If he snatches the blue charm god's body, then the new master of the pirate throne will be Firebeard. Chapter 385. Fire-breathing castle. ZD, who was wearing a mask, was ushered into a small, quiet reception hall. A merchant was already waiting in the reception hall. Master Mage, I heard from my subordinates that you have a batch of goods that you need to sell. ZD nodded slightly and said in a changed voice, "These are the samples. Take a look at the goods first." As ZD spoke, she took out a fire spear, a shield, and half a set of leather armor from her interspatial bag. The merchant immediately examined them carefully. The gun was damaged, and the shield and leather armor were stained with blood. The merchant turned a blind eye to these traces of war. He only cared about the quality of the equipment. After a moment of inspection, the merchant nodded. "Master Mage, if your goods are of this quality, then I can give you this price." ZD took the list of prices and only glanced at it briefly before putting it away. "I have to discuss this with others. You're only the first shop I visited." "I understand." The merchant smiled. "You can ask a few more shops and find the most suitable trading partner. But please forgive me for saying this. In this business, the bigger the scale, the higher the price, it is not good. The most important thing is reliability. Our shop has been in this business for more than 80 years. ZD nodded. "I will consider it." The so-called business was to write off the accounts. Because Fire-Breathing Island was the only super island in the nearby sea, there were a lot of people. The size of the port, the wharf, and the market were all very impressive. This led to pirates using this place as the first place to write off the accounts after plundering. The guns and other things that ZD took out had obvious Navy insignia, but the merchant didn't seem to see it at all. After ZD left this shop, she immediately went to the next one. In the early morning, the Justice Pirates entered Fire-Breathing Castle. According to the plan, they acted alone. ZD's task was to write off the accounts and obtain funds to facilitate the purchase of alchemy materials. The scale of these materials was not small, and some of them were quite expensive. The Justice Pirates had treasures in their hands, but artifacts and the like could not be sold at all. After this period of escape, they had consumed a lot of materials. In the evening, according to the agreement, everyone had a secret meeting to inform each other of their progress. The young man, Sandow, and Lonzeo were responsible for scouting the area. Each of them took out a map that they had secretly marked. The few of them gathered the map and could vaguely see the outline of Flame Spray City. They were also responsible for another important task, which was to check the whereabouts of the 100 Needles clan leader. So far, the patriarch of the 100 Needles clan hadn't set foot on the fire-breathing island yet, so he hadn't found the agreed special mark. Song Su was also in charge of scouting, but he was scouting an important place in Spitfire City, the active volcano behind the city. Although the Justice Pirates lacked excellent scouts, Song Su was a necromancer. He used ghosts and spirits to investigate, and then used necromancy to hide their aura, often making it impossible for people to guard against him. I found the correct entrance. The security there is tight. Not only are there gold-ranked powerhouses patrolling the area, there are also many hidden sentries. And this is only the outer perimeter. Based on the way the soldiers are arranged, there must be saint-level guards in the inner perimeter. Now, I can only cast spells on the spot and remotely control the ghost to sneak in and investigate. But in this way, I need to keep casting spells, and my magic power will fluctuate. So, I'll ask for more pearl foam to cover me. Song Su's request was immediately met. ZD finally mentioned her purchases. I have a plan to buy most of the materials. There are only some rare alchemy materials left, and the red and blue crystal clusters are the most needed. But I've also found a seller, and I'll try to finalize the deal tomorrow morning. The one who made the most progress was ZD. She deserved to be the current president of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce. Her insight into the market and her negotiation skills were very strong. The young man's tone was solemn. The pearl foam on us is being consumed faster and faster. This means that more and more people are divining and predicting us, and they're getting stronger and stronger. The situation has become urgent. We have to race against time. Looking out of the window, the setting sun was approaching the sea, which seemed to indicate that everyone's last chance of survival was getting bleak. Looking at the setting sun at the intersection of the sea and the sky, Wei Sheng stood at the bow of his double-sword ship. The beautiful scenery in front of him did not affect him. His mood was very bad. About half an hour ago, he received a report. The report described that Vice Admiral Bitterwater led his fleet to pursue and capture a large number of members of the Justice Pirates. And the specific time of this battle was not today, but yesterday. After Wei Sheng saw this report, he was furious on the spot. He accepted Yin Tan's order to take over the position of Marine Fleet Admiral. But except for Yin Tan's faction, the other three factions did not listen to his orders. Previously, Admiral Bitong maliciously played with him. Now, Vice Admiral Bitterwater directly ignored the existence of the Marine headquarters and only reported to Admiral Igue. The information Wei Sheng received was from the investigation of spies. Each and every one of them. They don't put me in their eyes at all. Damn it. Wei Sheng clenched his fist and smashed it on the side of the ship. The current situation was not friendly to him. Not only did the top members of the Justice Pirates disappear, but Firebeard also made a big move. In the Eye of the Sea, Firebeard showed strong combat power, defeated the barbarians and the Marines, and easily rescued Feng Yao and others. After that, he scattered the entire fleet, and each pirate fleet sailed in a different direction. It was like flowers blooming everywhere. Firebeard got first-hand information from Feng Yao. Feng Yao was cursed by the goddess of love. According to the latest intelligence analysis, his sweetheart is likely to be Blue Charm Goddess. So, he may be able to point in the right direction. Firebeard should be robbing the goddess body. I'm gonna stop him. Among the three legendary pirate groups, Firebeard's pirate group was the largest and the most powerful. If he successfully robbed Blue Charm Goddess, he would be ranked first, and it is even likely that he would sit directly on the throne and become the new generation of Pirate King. The specifics may not be easy to estimate, because in history, there has never been a case of a pirate robbing God's body. Speaking of which, Bitong took the Blue Charm throne and is now the first in the pirate city's Holy Tablet ranking. Ridiculous. It is a shame to the Imperial Navy. Marine headquarters, big military port. Marine Admiral Muido stood on the balcony, watching the setting sun fall into the water. His trance expression was slightly relieved, and his eyes gathered again and became spirited. The Blue Charm throne is difficult to suppress, and the divinity contained in it is not worthy of me at all. Bitong sighed. He had been suppressing the throne for several days, and it was very hard. Bitong's legendary concept was space, and the Blue Charm throne's concept of divinity was focused on camouflage and deception. Bitong now began to understand Claw Crow. This guy's strength is actually stronger than when he fought with me. He suppressed the Blue Charm throne in the subspace for a long time and consumed a lot of energy, so he was pushed down by me in the battle. When he thought of the confrontation in the Eye of the Sea, Bitong's eyes lit up, and his body seemed to feel an unbearable heat. Firebeard's strength has been deeply engraved in his heart. Fortunately, I can break the space, and my ability to retreat is far beyond his. This monster is close to a god. Bitong stayed on the balcony, rested for a while, and then turned back to the house. He couldn't stay out for too long. Without his suppression, the Blue Charm throne would fly away. The throne had divinity of deception and camouflage. Once it left his sight, it would be difficult for Bitong to detect its existence. But the moment Bitong turned around, the sun suddenly became fierce, shining on the balcony. Enemy attack. The next moment, the Marine headquarters sounded an ear-piercing alarm. Bitong immediately turned around and saw that the setting sun seemed to become the rising sun, and the sea was burning with flames. A tall and burly figure stepped on the flames and walked slowly towards the military port. Bitong's eyes suddenly shrank, and a sense of horror hit his heart. Firebeard. That night, Firebeard killed his way to the Sacred Empire Navy headquarters. Chapter 386. This guy actually dares to attack the Navy headquarters. How dare he do this? Admiral Bitong's heart was filled with rage after the initial shock. If you count the top combat power, the Empire Navy had a total of 4 legends. There were 3 legendary pirate groups, but the pirate groups were independent of each other. The Empire Navy did not encircle the pirates with great fanfare because the sea area was too vast. The top combat power between the two sides rarely clashed head-on. A battle like the Pillar of Heaven Sea was actually very rare. Because of the Blue Charm Divine Throne, there was a legendary confrontation. The Empire Navy did not deal with the pirates on a large scale, and the pirates did not cause too much trouble for the Empire. After all, the Sacred Empire was the strongest country in the main world. Although the merchant ships were attacked by the pirates treated the ships from all the continents equally. There had never been a pirate group that attacked the Empire's port. But now, Firebeard was doing just that. Not only did he attack the Empire's port, but he also attacked the Sacred Empire's Navy headquarters. Madman, do you know what will happen to you if you do this? Bitong gritted his teeth and roared at Firebeard. Firebeard laughed, and flames raged in his laughter as he pounced on the military port. Humph! Bitong's face was cold, and he did not give any more orders. The quality of the Navy at the headquarters was very high, and they immediately activated their defensive means. A huge light barrier was the first to take shape, covering all the important parts of the military port. The originally scorching flames were immediately repelled by the light shield, and the temperature of the air stopped rising crazily. We are safe. This is a legendary defensive magic array. The Navy headquarters defense is tight. Even if Firebeard attacked here, he would fail. Wait a minute. The temperature continued to rise? The Navy was surprised again. The light shield was like melting iron, and soon it became incomparably red. The number of magic crystals consumed by the array rose sharply, and many parts of the array began to show signs of destruction. The headquarters was naturally equipped with many alchemists and alchemists. At this moment, they were fully mobilized to repair the array. Firebeard's understanding of the flame domain is already so deep. Baitong's heart became heavier, and he decisively ordered, "Send the Golem Legion." The Navy headquarters was equipped with 2 complete Golem Legions. Rumble, the ground cracked open, and a team of tall Golem giants, fully armed, stepped into the sea. The water only reached their knees. After walking out of the light barrier, they gradually entered the deep sea. Intense mana fluctuations rose from the Golem's body, driving the Golem. Combined with its buoyancy, the seawater was only waist-high. The Golem giants charged towards Firebeard. Compared to them, Firebeard's tall and sturdy body seemed very small. However, the height of the flames rose again, and the endless tongues of flame easily drowned the Golem giants. After burning for a while, Flamebeard walked out of the flames again, and the Golem giants all disappeared without a trace. These are all saint-level magical golems. That's impossible. Even if the opponent is of the legendary level, he should at least be able to resist for some time. Firebeard, is he a monster? When the Marines saw this, their morale was shaken. "Isn't there another Golem army?" Baitong asked. The subordinate immediately reported, "Sir, when Count Wei Sheng attacked, he took this team with him." Baitong was stunned. He was so angry that he smashed his fist. You can't do anything right. The quality of the 2 Golem armies was similar, but they both had their own strengths. One was heavy and large Golem army, which consumed a lot of mana. The other was light and small, with high endurance and easy to carry and move. The light barrier was on the verge of collapse. But soon, the 3 wizard towers surged with mana fluctuations. The towers emitted a dazzling light, shining on the light barrier. The light barrier received strong support and stabilized again. Baitong's expression became even worse. He questioned, "There are still 6 wizard towers. Why haven't they been activated?" The subordinate immediately said, "Count Wei Sheng moved out in full force and took away most of the wizards." This guy, Baitong, gritted his teeth. "Has the clergy been gathered? Why don't I see the war god bishop?" "Sir, it's—" The subordinate was about to say, but was interrupted by Baitong. "I know, it's Wei Sheng again, right? Sir, please investigate." Count Wei Sheng not only took away the war god church's bishop, but also a large number of elite clergy. Baitong clenched his fists. At this moment, if Wei Sheng was in his hands, he would definitely crush his bones. More than half of the Navy headquarters combat power was taken away by Wei Sheng. It was not as strong as Baitong remembered. The military port was the Empire's war god's parish, so there was a war god's temple here. It was overseen by a powerful clergy at the bishop level, and there was also a war god church. Believers were precious resources. There was an agreement between the Empire's gods, and each parish was independent of each other. Unless it was a super large city, it was hard to see a scene of each god's temple gathered together. After all, the number of high-level clergy was limited. It needed to be more reasonable to maximize the benefits of each church. Since the military port was the war god's parish, although clergy from other churches were also stationed, there were fewer of them. And the clergy from the war god church that Baitong could rely on the most were not here. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, the terrifying flames finally burned through the giant defensive light barrier. "What happened?" Baitong hurriedly asked. Several cores were burned. His subordinates quickly reported. "The core of the defensive array is heavily protected. How could it be destroyed?" Baitong was furious. "It's not the core. The part of the array that was burned is related to the mage tower." An alchemist with a dusty face came in front of Baitong. "This part of the array was burned. Our mage tower's support power conflicted with the light barrier. Under the internal and external attacks, the light barrier could not withstand it. Sir Baitong, only you can make a move first and resist Firebeard. We need enough time to repair the array." Baitong blinked and secretly broke out in cold sweat. Since the start of the war, how long had it been? Why did he have to make a move now? The bad news came one by one. The Navy headquarters that was heavily guarded could only rely on Bai Tong. Damn it! I have continuously suppressed the blue charm throne and consumed a lot of energy. Now I have to deal with Firebeard? Bai Tong was prepared to use the defense of the Navy headquarters to delay for a while and let his condition recover. But Firebeard's offensive was too fierce. The Navy headquarters could not withstand it in the blink of an eye. The light barrier melted piece by piece. Flames fell from the top of their heads, burning the Navy. Bai Tong glanced around, and his eyes flashed with a touch of ruthlessness. He ordered coldly, then abandoned the defensive array. Concentrate all the power, mobilize all the mage towers, and open the six-pointed magic cannon. Admiral, the surrounding Navy was shocked. Bai Tong snorted. Even if the repair is successful, how long can the defense alone last? We must counterattack. In the case of a pirate attacking the island, where is the glory of the Imperial Navy? Yes, sir, the Navy roared. The magic fluctuations of the mage tower rose rapidly. The brilliance of the 6 mage towers linked together and converged in midair at the top of the tower to form a huge, nearly flat 6-pointed magic array. If the mage army was complete, the power of the magic cannon would be stronger and faster. Bai Tong was very regretful. The military port built 9 mage towers, but because too many mages were transferred, 6 tower masters left directly, leaving only 3 with the weakest individual strength. Now 6 mage towers could be opened because of the mage's emergency transfer and the temporary allocation of authority. After about 2 minutes, the center of the array burst out an incandescent ray without warning. The ray almost instantly hit Firebeard. Boom! A big explosion formed in the next moment. In the deafening roar, a huge white ball of light swelled in the red sea of fire. The ball of light expanded to a radius of 6 meters and then burst. The terrible white shock wave spread around. For a moment, the sea of fire dissipated and returned to ordinary seawater. The next moment, the seawater was completely eliminated by the power of the shock wave. It hit him. What about Firebeard? He took this hit head-on. Even if he doesn't die, he will lose a layer of skin. This is a legendary artillery attack. Firebeard coughed twice, and his figure appeared in front of the Imperial Navy again. He was indeed injured. The pirate captain's costume was missing a part, revealing a complete left shoulder. The injury on his shoulder quickly healed under the burning flames. The Imperial Navy was speechless. It's the legendary artifact. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Yes, it's the Raging Tailblade. With this broken blade, Firebeard will be able to wield the Phoenix Fire and quickly heal his injuries. How can we fight this?" The morale of the Imperial Navy fell sharply. A legendary 6-light magic energy cannon? Ha, it's not bad. Firebeard, who took the hit head-on, laughed. Now it's my turn. Since he appeared, he showed a serious expression for the first time. Ha! He clapped his hands and put them together in front of his chest. Battle technique, red flame tsunami. The flames ignited on the sea again. Burning, tongues of fire spewed out. The raging flames grew bigger and bigger. Not only that, but under Firebeard's feet, the surface of the sea rose up, forming waves, as if mounds were rising. The waves grew bigger and bigger, attacking the military port. The closer it was to the port, the bigger the red waves became. Rumble in the horrified eyes of the Imperial Navy. The red waves that attacked the port were 9 meters high. It was overwhelming. The waves smashed down. A large number of warships were directly smashed. Some followed the waves and hit the land. The first wave receded, and the remaining scarlet-red seawater began to burn, turning the area that was covered by the waves into a sea of fire. The Imperial Navy wailed and were defeated. But the second wave came again, smashing down. Boom, boom, boom. Under the attack of the waves, the military port was quickly destroyed. Countless ships and buildings were either smashed or burned. Smoke rose. Flames ran rampant. The Imperial Navy suffered heavy casualties. It was a scene of doomsday. The morale of the Imperial Navy was close to collapse. Firebeard had not landed yet. More than half of them had died. The gap between the two sides was too big. According to this situation, Firebeard could easily slaughter the entire Imperial Navy headquarters. Now, there was only one reason why the Imperial Navy had not been defeated. Baitong. Admiral Baitong has not moved yet. This was their only hope. Firebeard. Baitong was sweating. Chapter 387. Looking at Firebeard approaching, Baitong's limbs stiffened and his hands and feet became numb. The surrounding Navy's eyes were focused on him with endless expectations. Baitong cursed in his heart. Where's Igwe? Where's Fang Gong? Most importantly, where's Yin Tan? Firebeard attacked the Navy headquarters. Where are you guys? It was understandable that Igwe and Fang Gong didn't guard the Navy headquarters all year round. After all, Baitong often did this. But Yin Tan? You're a Navy marshal and you're not guarding the headquarters. What are you trying to do? You're neglecting your duty. After this battle, I'll definitely report you to the military court. If I knew this would happen, why would I go back to the Navy headquarters? I might as well hide in a corner and secretly suppress the blue charm throne. Baitong was very regretful. He subconsciously thought that the Navy headquarters was the safest place. This was actually a thought habit. Once there was an extremely daring criminal who didn't play by the rules, this thought habit would become a trap to frame Baitong. Baitong thought about retreating. His fighting skills broke through space, so he could often advance and retreat freely. But he couldn't retreat now, at least not for the time being. Previously, he played with Wei Sheng and went to the Eye of the Pillar of Heaven and snatched the blue charm throne. This action had crossed the line, but with his strength and status, he could suppress it. But now, if he fled like this, he wouldn't be able to suppress the series of consequences. Please, this was the Navy headquarters. The Empire's current situation was to invade the wilderness continent. Now, a large number of troops hadn't been transported to the wilderness continent, and the maritime logistics line hadn't been officially opened. In the end, the Navy headquarters was destroyed, and he was defeated by a single person. What would the people of the Shengming Empire think of this? What would the other races think? This wasn't just a huge joke, but it would affect the entire situation. If the Empire's navy was weak to this extent, how could they guarantee the logistics line of the army? How could they guarantee the victory of the unprecedented war between the humans and the beasts? The people of the Empire would have self-doubt, and the other races would be restless, thinking that the Empire's strength was only on the surface, but it was actually very weak inside. At least, the navy was a huge flaw of the Empire. Therefore, Baitong was very clear that he couldn't retreat. If he directly retreated and fled without a fight, he would be finished. The Grand Dukes of the Empire and the living gods would be the first to not let him off. Not only can I not retreat, but I also have to repel Firebeard. I have to repel him. When Baitong thought of this, he gritted his teeth and decisively ordered, "Send an emergency request to the Marshal, the other generals, and the Wei Sheng fleet. I will fight to the death against Firebeard. Everything is for the glory of the Empire, the flag of the Empire. I will not fall. Yes, I wish you victory, General. Martial arts prosperity." The Marine subordinate's morale was boosted. Baitong took a deep breath and knocked with his hand. The space in front of him split open, and he stepped in. In the next second, he appeared in front of Firebeard. "Firebeard, you are too arrogant." Baitong gritted his teeth and rushed forward. Firebeard laughed. "Loser, where are you going this time?" The two sides clashed. Baitong's silhouette flashed and reappeared. His main tactic was guerrilla warfare. He was stalling for time and waiting for reinforcements. His intention was very obvious. Firebeard did not seem to be in a hurry. Under the pressure of a legend, he could no longer maintain the red flame tsunami fighting technique. Military Harbor had just breathed a sigh of relief when suddenly numerous shadows appeared from all over the place. Kill these first seals. Let's rob the Marine headquarters. Ah. The pirates were extremely arrogant as they swarmed out. The Marines were caught off guard and were routed one by one. What's going on? Baitong was surprised. Firebeard laughed. I am the leader of the pirate group. You are waiting for reinforcements, but I also have subordinates. When will your reinforcements arrive? My subordinates have long been ready. As soon as I make a move, they will sail from all directions to the military harbor. Today, I will snatch the military harbor. Bai Tong's face was ashen. He knew that he had fallen in a Firebeard's trap. He could only pin his hopes on his subordinates. Firebeard, you underestimate the elites of the Empire. Firebeard's pirates, only you are worth watching. The battle in the military harbor was in full swing. A large number of pirates suddenly could not move. The solid ground under their feet turned into a swamp. They were deep in the swamp and kept sinking. They could not use their Do Chi or magic power. Trapped in my magic trap, you can only wait for death. The sacred domain mage who set up the magic trap sneered. Is that so? A short man appeared. He held a war hammer and slammed it on the ground. The magic trap collapsed. The sacred domain mage's expression changed. He stared at the dwarf's war hammer. You were the magic breaker hammer? Poochie. While the mage was distracted, a dagger stabbed into the mage's back. The tip of the dagger came out of his heart. The mage struggled frantically, but found that all his magic power was absorbed by the dagger. He turned his head with difficulty and saw a dark-skinned woman with oil paint on her face. The mage fell to the ground and died unwillingly. The pirates were saved, but Hammer was dissatisfied and shouted, "Hey, he is mine." The dark-skinned woman sneered, her voice hoarse. You were too slow. After saying that, she turned into a cloud of black smoke and disappeared. Pirate scum, the vice admiral is here. Don't even think about rushing over. In front of him, there was a large number of corpses of the pirates. Let me. A young man with a red scarf on his head stepped out. Fourth master. The pirates saw the young man and were overjoyed. The vice admiral's expression became serious, his gaze serious. You were the red scarf? According to the latest news, you have advanced to the sacred domain not long ago? That's right. What kind of strong person is bullying the weak? I'm also a sacred domain now. Come, the red scarf shouted. Little brat, you have just advanced to the sacred domain and you want to die? Let me grant you your wish. The vice admiral roared and rushed towards the red scarf. After a few rounds of fighting, the vice admiral's eyes were wide open. He spat out blood and was sent flying by the red scarf's fists. How is this possible? My blood is not for control. What kind of fighting technique is this? The red scarf used his thumb to wipe his nose. He raised his head proudly. I created it myself. I haven't named it yet. Boom. A mage tower completely collapsed, attracting the attention of many people. Is this fake? The mage tower actually collapsed. This tower was personally guarded by the sacred domain tower master. A tall figure slowly stood up from the ruins of the mage tower. Gulp. The Navy soldiers all swallowed their saliva and looked at the huge figure in horror. This man's expression was firm like steel. His arms were very thick and strong. They were so strong that they were disproportionate to his torso. What was even more eye-catching was that he had 2 pairs of arms condensed from Do Chi. They were exactly the same as his original arms. They were lifelike and did not look like they were condensed from Do Chi. Many arms. Damn it, it is the second head of Firebeard. It is rumored that he has the fighting power of a legend. No wonder the Mage Tower was destroyed by him alone. The morale of the Navy soldiers fell. On the other hand, the pirates were shouting. The more they killed, the more excited they became. How can this be? The more Bai Tong looked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The situation was different from what he had imagined. Although the pirates were mixed in good and bad, this time Firebeard had brought all his elites to attack the military port, especially the few heads. Every one of them was brave and good at fighting. Their fighting power was astonishing. Haha, you think that I do not know that your navy and spies have come to deal with me and secretly attack my brothers? The Firebeard pirates are not to be trifled with. This time I will let you taste what is called pain. Firebeard laughed and touched the hilt of the roaring tailblade. Call! Do Chi gushed out of his body and immediately rose into the sky and turned into a huge phoenix. The phoenix flew across the battlefield, and wherever it went, countless flames were sprinkled. Bathed in the fire of the phoenix, the injured pirates quickly healed and even regenerated their broken limbs. Seeing this scene, Baitong and the Marine vice-admirals were pale. Firebeard's hand was simply the Archbishop's healing magic. All of a sudden, it offset the advantage of the Marine's clergy and even overpowered them. I can't let him be so unscrupulous anymore. Baitong glared and pointed his palm at the roaring tail blade on Firebeard's waist. Fighting technique. As soon as he was about to use it, he saw Firebeard's eyes cast on him. I have been playing with you for so long. Haven't you felt it yet? Firebeard laughed. What? Baitong felt a huge horror hovering in his heart. Firebeard raised his head and narrowed his eyes slightly. The time has come. This is my fighting technique. Call. The next moment, Baitong's heart burned with flames. What did I get hit? Baitong was horrified and quickly retreated. His figure suddenly disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already hundreds of meters away. At the same time, he used his fighting spirit to suppress the flames in his heart. The flames were quickly suppressed, but not extinguished. Anger involuntarily spread from the bottom of his heart. Anger. He wanted to rush up and tear Firebeard apart. Not good. This fighting technique seems to be closely related to my anger. Not only can it trigger my anger, but the angrier I am, the more difficult it is to suppress the flames in my heart, and the more likely it is to reignite. Baitong was also a general, and soon saw some details. Don't run. Firebeard flew to the sky and killed Baitong. Baitong fought with him again, and after a few rounds, he fled. Damn. How can I fight this? Firebeard laughed. It seems that you saw it. Yes, the closer you are to me, the more power the fighting technique will accumulate. Once it accumulates enough, it can reignite. Baitong had no choice but to use his fighting technique to attack from a distance and maintain a distance for Firebeard. The next moment, a blue light rushed to the sky and disappeared in an instant. Blue charm divine throne. Baitong was dumbfounded. After the shock, there was a huge anger. Tongue. His heart burned with raging flames again. Firebeard, die for me. Baitong howled, his face distorted, and took the initiative to kill. That's right. Firebeard laughed. The two of them fought again, and the sky and earth were turned upside down, causing stormy waves. On the other side, in the military port, the pirates rushed over like a tide, and the Navy took a limited number of ships and retreated in a sorry state. The pirates, led by multi-armed, trampled the Empire's flag under their feet and screamed in a sea of fire and ruins. The Empire's Navy headquarters fell. Chapter 388. Under the heavy night sky, the military port was ablaze and blood flowed, but the voodoo rainforest was quiet. Occasionally, there would be the screams of a successful predator, making the rainforest seem even more serene. Lights were still shining in the small wooden house. No matter what kind of beast it was, they would avoid the small wooden house. Even though the small wooden house did not emit any aura, the survival instincts of beasts were sometimes sharper than humans. The small wooden house was spacious, far exceeding the limits of the building's outer appearance. If an outsider pushed open the door and entered, they would be shocked to find that there were 4 legends in the small wooden house. Igwe was a Marine admiral, Hua Sheng, and Asa were the top figures of the pirate group. Each of them had a deep influence on the main world sea. But now, they were all focused on another woman, Mo Lao, a legend diviner and a core figure of the voodoo sect. The divination had failed once again. The grass doll in the basin withered once again and burned to ashes. Even the soil in the basin began to distort, forming a messy and complicated pattern that was disgusting to look at. Cough, cough, cough. Mo Lao kept coughing, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Her blood was very strange. It was black and emitted a foul stench, but there was also a hint of fishy sweetness. Igwe looked at her best friend worriedly. Mo Lao sensed her gaze and smiled at her. I'm fine, ugh. Saying this, she spat out another mouthful of blood. Igwe frowned. Are you sure? You've already spat out more than 10 liters of blood. You spat out almost all of it, right? Take a rest. There's no need to rush. We could take it slow. Hearing this, the other two legendary powerhouses were not willing to do so. Miss Gue, please understand our difficulties. Huasheng smiled. Dark magician Asa held his staff and said coldly, we have to race against time. If Flame Beard succeeds, we won't have an easy time. Gue was a marine admiral. Even if Flame Beard stole the blue charm god's body and ascended to the pirate throne, he was only a new god. The Empire naturally had gods to deal with him. At that time, even if Gue was held accountable, she could still be an admiral. But it was different for Hua, Sheng, and Asa. Their path to promotion lay in the pirate throne. To them, the pirate throne was even more important. It was the key that would affect their fates. If they failed, they would have to submit to the god of pirates unless they withdrew from the sea. The boat was small, so it was easy to turn around. However, they had a large family and business, so there were too many fetters and implications. It was very difficult for them to leave. Gue snorted coldly. You are nervous and afraid of Firebeard. That is your business. Mo Lao is my friend. I care more about my friend's life. At worst, we'll just fight. We're all legends. Huasheng quickly raised his hand. Miss Gue, please calm down. We don't want to start a war with you. We just want to find trouble with Firebeard. Of course, the legendary pirates weren't easy to talk to. But now, they didn't dare to rashly start a war, because their goal had not been achieved. They were here to divine Blue Charm God's whereabouts. If they started a fight and spoiled the plan, Firebeard would get what he wanted. It would be a huge loss for them. Asa frowned. He was very unhappy with Gue. If it was any other time, he would have already made a move. But now he was very restrained. Gue and Mo Lao had a close relationship. This was obvious to anyone with a discerning eye. If he attacked Gue, how would Mo Lao react? It was very likely that Mo Lao wouldn't do any more divination for him. Asa thought for a moment and sneered. Gue, you don't seem to understand reality. This is a deal. We provide the voodoo sect's holy item in exchange for Master Mo Lao's immediate divination. This is consensual. As an outsider, you can't take out any holy item. Allowing you to continue staying here is already the limit of our tolerance. Please pay more attention to your actions. You. Gue was indignant. All right, stop quarreling. Mo Lao raised his hand and complained weakly. Can you all stop? You're making my head hurt. It's not easy to divine a god. Can you all please shut up? As a divination master, although Mo Lao was also a legend, his combat power was limited. So, it was also her idea for Gue to stay by her side. If the divination results were out and these two legend pirates killed her in order to keep the news a secret, who would she cry to? I'm just worried about you. Gue rolled his eyes at Mo Lao and said intimately. Mo Lao comforted her best friend again. I understand. It's okay. I just feel a little nauseous. I have to vomit something to feel better. This is the price of the divination ritual. It's more beneficial for me to vomit because this blood will bear the backlash. This feeling is actually like being pregnant. You know, there will be morning sickness. When you smell anything, you will feel nauseous, want to vomit, lose your appetite, and have a headache. Gue hurriedly shook his head. I don't know how it feels to be pregnant. Have you had it before? Mo Lao stretched out her finger and pinched Igue's arm, but she couldn't pinch it. On the surface, Igue was only wearing a princess dress. How many clothes are you wearing this time? Mo Lao teased. None of your business. I'm wearing more to keep warm. Igue snorted coldly. Mo Lao was about to speak when she coughed again. She wiped the corner of her mouth and said indifferently, Look, I've vomited again. It's okay. It's okay. Igue's eyes widened. This time, Huasheng and Asa frowned a little, because there were a few suspicious fragments in the blood that was vomited. What is this? Igue pointed and shouted. Oh, it's my lungs. Mo Lao laughed. It's okay. It's just a small fragment of my lungs. Let's continue. The sun slowly rose from the sea level, and the morning glow dyed the sea red. It was beautiful. In the military port that was already in ruins, pirate ships crowded the dock. There were also a large number of ships sailing on the sea near the port, like a group of sharks that had gathered after smelling blood. Firebeard sat on a stone stool at the dock, enjoying the worshipful and even fanatical gazes of his subordinates. He quietly listened to the reports of his subordinates. After fighting hard in the first half of the night and cleaning up the battlefield in the second half of the night, the pirates also had emergency maintenance experts. They tried their best to operate the warships that could be operated and counted the spoils of war that could be collected. Even though Wei Sheng had taken away most of the elites and important supplies, the pirates still had a lot of spoils of war. After all, this was the Shengming Empire's Navy headquarters. The treasury was very rich. "Boss, are you looking for me?" Feng Yao walked in front of Firebeard. His face was covered in dust. He also participated in the battle last night, but he rushed over in the second half of the battle. Firebeard's tactic of dispersing the pirate group deceived everyone. Not only the two legendary pirate groups, but the Empire's navy also never expected that Firebeard would be so daring as to attack the Empire's navy headquarters. "Third brother, come, take this." Firebeard saw Feng Yao, smiled, and threw him a bottle of potion. Feng Yao quickly took it and looked at it. His pupils dilated slightly, and he cried out in surprise, "This is legendary healing potion. Drink it, and you can recover from your injuries and return to the sacred level." Multi-Arm came over, accompanied by a young man with a red bandana. The young man glanced at Feng Yao curiously, and then immediately stared at Firebeard with fanatical eyes. "Boss," he shouted, "I just received news that your name is first on the pirate ship's sacred tablet." Feng Yao gratefully put away the potion, thinking that it was no wonder. They had done so well this time. The entire Imperial Navy headquarters was destroyed. Although Bidong was not killed in the end, he suffered heavy injuries from Firebeard. Multi-Arm said in a deep voice, "The news of this battle hasn't really spread yet. Now, rumors are flying around the pirate ship, and everyone is guessing what we did. Boss, what should we do next? The Shengming Empire should be very angry. It's very likely that the gods will personally take action." Multi-Arm was the second in command and had a steady temperament. He was the chief manager of Firebeard's pirate group. He was loyal to Firebeard. The reason why Firebeard's pirate group was the largest in the Origin world was not only because of Firebeard's powerful personality, but also because of his hard work and management. Do you still need to say that? The newly promoted Sacred Level Red Bandana put his hands behind his head and said casually, "Blue Charm God has already flown away. He must have gone to find Blue Charm God's main body. Hurry up and attack Blue Charm God. This god is too weak. It's perfect. If other pirates manage to get their hands on it, the pirate throne will probably be snatched away." Multi-Arm was silent. Feng Yao's expression abruptly changed as worry appeared on his face. Firebeard laughed. "There's no need. I've already promised fourth brother that I won't attack Blue Charm God." "Ah, is that so?" Red Bandana was very surprised. Multi-Arm still did not say anything. But if that's the case, Red Bandana hesitated. Feng Yao choked. "Boss." Firebeard stood up and walked in front of Feng Yao. He patted his shoulder and took Red Bandana over. "Kid, do you see that sun?" "Yes, I see it." Red Bandana was confused. Firebeard said heroically, "What is the Blue Charm Divine Throne? What is the Pirate Throne? Can it be compared to our brotherhood?" "Hee. My goal is the sun. I want to become an existence like the sun and wield the authority of fire. The rest is not the path I want to take." For a moment, everyone was moved. The sun jumped out of the sea, and the sunlight was dazzling, illuminating the vast sky and sea. It was as if flames were burning. The sunlight shone on everyone's faces. Red Bandana had a yearning expression. Feng Yao stared in the direction of Fire Spray City. Multi-Arm was expressionless. Red Bandana's brows relaxed under the sea breeze. Then he laughed out loud. Chapter 389. The sun rose high, sprinkling bright light. The moist sea breeze dissipated into nothingness in the city. This was a huge town full of enthusiasm. In the market, people of all walks of life were jostling each other. The sound of hawking, haggling, shouting, and bandits were all mixed together. The news that the Marine headquarters was destroyed by the flame beard pirates was spreading on the way. Everything was as usual. What? ZD's voice showed a hint of anxiety. The red and blue crystal clusters in your shop are also sold out? After a night's rest, she began to act in the early morning, taking advantage of the morning market to buy a lot of materials. Everything went very smoothly. After all, she had already inquired about it yesterday. But in the end, there was an accident, and all the red and blue crystal clusters were sold out. And this resource was a necessity for the Justice Pirates. Excuse me, who is it that suddenly bought so many red and blue crystal clusters? ZD's voice was low. Sorry, we will not sell the information of our customers. This is the rule of our shop. ZD handed a few gold coins. So, the person who received her immediately took the gold coins and changed his words. Information trading is also a business of our shop. The San Huang clan caravan from the lava continent? ZD got the answer and was a little surprised. She was still guessing which big businessman launched a commercial operation for the red and blue crystal clusters. She didn't expect it to be a foreign caravan. Generally speaking, the possibility of such foreign caravans manipulating the market in other areas is relatively low. What is the purpose of the other party? Why is the demand for the red and blue crystal clusters so big and strong? ZD had to go and negotiate. The red and blue crystal clusters were not a high-grade material, but they were indeed rare. According to the scientific name in the field of alchemy, they should be called the associated crystals of fire and water elements. This crystal cluster had two colors, red and blue, and water and fire balanced each other. The Flame Island was one of the important production areas. After several inquiries, ZD came to the San Huang clan caravan station. The scale of the caravan was so large that it exceeded ZD's expectations. There was a temporary station specially arranged for the caravan in the Flame Island. Generally speaking, caravans that entered the Flame Island would not be treated like this. ZD expressed her intention to the guards of the caravan station, but the caravan refused her request. The San Huang clan caravan was very arrogant. This made ZD even more curious. She thought about it and showed the token of the elder of the Purple Vine Chamber of Commerce. The guard saw the token, and his expression slightly changed. He took the token, and his attitude towards ZD became respectful. Please allow me to report this matter to the lords. Go. ZD agreed. A moment later, Sha Bun saw the token in the largest tent of the caravan. His name was San Huang Clan Caravan of the San Huang Clan Caravan. Of the San Huang was the San Huang Clan Caravan. As the son of the Sha Huang clan's patriarch, Sha Bun's bloodline was thick and his talent was high. He had already reached the Saint Realm. Purple of the purple of the purple of commerce of the former 7th Chamber of Commerce has been devoured by the higher-ups of the Shengming Empire, but the remaining power is still not to be underestimated. Interesting. Then let me take a look. The guard brought back the token, and after giving it to ZD, he led her into the tent. The outside of the tent was ordinary, but the inside was spacious, well-designed, and beautifully decorated. A giant with a dirty braid was half lying on the soft golden sand, as if he was lying on a huge sofa. He was surrounded by several maids. There were humans, elves, and so on. All of them were beautiful and had outstanding figures. Some of them were holding huge plates full of fresh fruits. Some were massaging the giant's legs, and some were fanning the giant lightly. I am the young master of the San Huang clan, the only successor, the Saint Warrior San Huang clan. Magician from the Purple Vine Chamber of Commerce, tell me why you are here. The giant spoke first. He only opened his eyes and looked at ZD with an arrogant attitude. ZD bowed to him and told him why she wanted to buy the red and blue crystals. San Huang was disappointed. Such a small matter. Behind a mask, ZD's voice was neither humble nor arrogant. Compared to you, I'm just a small black iron mage. I'm not even worth mentioning. Since I'm in charge of the affairs of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm naturally not that important. However, we'll buy as many red and blue crystals as you have. The price is negotiable. San Juan closed his eyes and lost interest in ZD. You can leave now. He didn't care about such a small business. ZD quickly said, although I'm weak, I still have many connections in the Chamber of Commerce. If I'm lucky enough to make this deal with your Chamber of Commerce, we can cooperate in other fields. Sha Bun snorted in displeasure. ZD's body shook as if she had suffered a mental blow. She didn't dare to stay any longer. She bowed and left the tent, leaving the San Juan clan's Chamber of Commerce. How can the merchants of the Purple Vine Chamber of Commerce be so blind? I told her to leave, but she insisted on talking. She learned her lesson and ran away in the end. A maid smiled. She peeled a grape the size of an apple and brought it to San Juan's mouth. San Juan ate one and shook his head. This black iron magician isn't simple. Her mental space is strong and vast. I plan to hurt her for a month, but it seems she'll recover in a week at most. Although the Purple Vine Chamber of Commerce isn't as good as it used to be, you can see that even if the ship is rotten, there's still a few pounds of nails left. Spitfire City was built around a volcano. The real core wasn't the town, but the depths of the volcano. This wasn't a secret. Many giant magic arrays were set up in the depths of the volcano. They were used to seal, defend, and investigate. As the master of Spitfire City, the legendary giant AI, was overseeing it all year round. Song-Su's mission this time was to investigate the details of this place. Am I reaching my limit? Song-Su's face was pale. His body was on the verge of collapse, and his mind was in a trance. He had been investigating for almost the entire morning. Although his main body was still in the town, he relied on casting spells and controlling ghosts. The results of his investigation were much better than that of a sacred thief. This was mainly because most investigative and defensive methods were useless against new necromancy spells. They were almost all flaws. The location of the passage to the abyss has been investigated. It's time to retreat. Song-Su mobilized several ghosts and undead and began to withdraw gradually. Boom! At this moment, the earth shook. A loud sound came from the depths of the volcano. Bright red magma boiled. A cloud of black smoke rose from the volcano and rushed into the sky. What's going on? Song-Su was bewildered. In an instant, he saw through the vision of ghosts that there seemed to be a figure moving in the depths of the volcano. If I retreat now, I can still retrieve these ghosts. If I continue to investigate, these ghosts will probably be exhausted. Or after I retrieve them, I'll recuperate and heal these ghosts so they can sneak in to investigate again in a complete state. Song-Su was faced with a choice. He was somewhat hesitant, but soon he made his decision. He resolutely chose to sacrifice these ghosts and let them rush deeper into the volcano. The reason for this choice was that Song-Su knew his own situation and was pressed for time. The second reason was that the depths of the volcano were very hidden. This time, they took the initiative to expose themselves and let him discover them. If he missed this opportunity, he might not be able to find anything even if he sneaked into the correct location with just ghost detection. Just as the few ghosts rushed into the important area, they heard another loud boom. Waves of air mixed with the aftermath of magic power swept out in all directions like a raging storm. The ghost floating at the front was torn apart on the spot by the shockwave. Song-Su hurriedly commanded the ghost to hide behind protruding rocks. Only then did he save the last three. The ghosts were constantly weakened by the surrounding environment while investigating the volcano and were constantly being damaged. They had held on for so long and were already at the end of their rope. The three ghosts continued to go deeper. Through the vision of the ghosts, Song-Su's pupils suddenly shrank. He saw a giant. A legendary giant. She was holding a giant hammer up high, hitting a giant dragon. Every time she hit it, a thunderous sound would be heard. Terrifying shockwaves would be created around her. The shockwaves from the hammer would spread out in all directions. She should be AIU, the city lord of Flames, Spitfire City. Then what's with this giant dragon? Sang-soo endured his headache and continued to observe. He quickly discovered that this giant dragon was ferocious, with a head full of curved horns. It wasn't a dragon of the main world, but rather an abyss demon dragon. And the demon dragon's aura was also legendary. This isn't a living demon dragon. AI, you must have used the demon dragon's corpse to create a giant dragon war puppet. She's originally very good at creating puppets. At this point, there were only 2 of Sang-soo's ghosts left. AI, you breathed heavily and suddenly stopped. Come out. The demon dragon's belly suddenly opened and a female giant came out. Patriarch, the female giant called out to AI, I can still hold on. Let me continue to help you. She was smaller than AIU and the demon dragon, so she was able to enter the demon dragon's body. AIU's skin was brownish red, but this female giant's skin was light red. She wore a golden headband. Her hair was disheveled and her face was covered in dirt. Her hands weren't empty either. One of them was holding an anvil, the other a large brick. Brick! AIU shook her head. You forgot something more important. The young patriarch of the Sha Huang tribe has been waiting for you for 5 to 6 days. Go see him. Don't forget, you have a responsibility on your shoulders. The saint-rank female giant brick curled her lips, unwillingly put down the anvil and brick in her hands and grunted. At this point, Sang-soo's last ghost couldn't hold on any longer and silently dissipated. Chapter 390. In the room, Sang-soo knelt on the ground, panting heavily. His vision was dizzy. The ghosts he used for reconnaissance maintained a close mental connection with him. When the ghosts were destroyed, they would also implicate Sang-soo, causing his mind to suffer from a backlash. After checking the alchemy array in the room and confirming that there were no problems, Sang-soo immediately drank a potion and meditated on the spot. After a while, he opened his eyes. The dizziness was slightly better, but a dull pain filled his entire body. My body has been transformed by necromancy. I'm already a half-dead, half-alive person. This pain is not physical, but spiritual. It seems at this time, I lost too many ghosts at once, causing my soul to be damaged as well. Sang-soo sighed. He had found a reason. I can't stay here for too long. Sang-soo decided to return to the deep-sea monster fish first, then deal with the injuries to his soul. He began to tidy up the alchemy array in the room. The array diagram of this array came from the Tower Genie's database. After it was set up, a mage could cast spells in the array, effectively restraining magic power fluctuations. Without this layer of array, Sang-soo would definitely be discovered by the city guards when he used necromancy. Large cities like Fire Spray City all had mage towers. They all had detection magic facilities or constant spells. There were even regional magic nets. Under the cover of the magic net, if a mage wanted to cast spells, they had to seek the corresponding authority of the magic net. Fire Spray City was not a magic city, so it did not have a regional magic net. After tidying up the array and destroying all traces of it, Sang-soo cautiously checked many times before leaving. After making sure that he did not leave any obvious clues, he pushed open the door and walked out with a normal expression. It was already evening. He blended into the crowd on the street and was inconspicuous. Not long after, he successfully met up with the other members of the Justice Pirates. After a simple exchange, ZD said to Sang-soo with a hint of impatience, I need your help. All the materials have been successfully purchased. Only the last item is left, the red and blue crystal clusters. The giant caravan of the Sand Yellow clan has bought all the red and blue crystal clusters in the city. I went to their door, but the discussion failed. Later on, we found out that the Sand Yellow clan's caravan had come from afar. The caravan was just a cover. Their real plan was to escort their young master, Changsha Bun, to the fire-spitting city to marry the giants here. This information was not difficult to find out. Although the Sha Huang caravan tried their best to hide it, when they reached the Fire Spray City, they took the initiative to spread the news. In fact, even if they didn't spread the news, the citizens of Spitfire City had their own guesses about the giants who had come from afar. The marriage proposal was initiated by Aiu, the Lord of Fire-Spitting City. The target was not only the Sand Yellow clan. ZD continued. Sha Bun's marriage partner is Jianya of Fire Spray City. The latter is a master alchemist personally taught by Aiu. Like Sha Bun, he's also a saint. In order to succeed in the marriage, the Sand Yellow clan brought a lot of rare resources and treasures to be used as bargaining chips for the marriage. I need to find out information about the caravan's base and try to steal the red and blue crystal clusters tonight. ZD's proposal was very bold. Song Su endured the pain in his soul and thought carefully. He found that ZD's idea was very wise. The main purpose of the Sand Yellow clan's caravan was to form a marriage alliance. If they wanted to trade the red and blue crystal clusters, they would not try to buy them. Instead, they would negotiate with the Fire-Spitting City. The Fire-Spitting City was one of the largest producers of the red and blue crystal clusters. A long-term trade would be more beneficial for both sides. Since the Sand Yellow caravan did not do so, and instead spent more than 30% of the market price to buy the red and blue crystal clusters, it meant that they urgently needed this resource. It was very likely that it was related to the marriage alliance. Since they urgently needed it, they might consume the crystal clusters on the spot. Therefore, if the Justice Pirates wanted to get these things, they had to race against time. At present, in the entire Justice Pirates, except for the young captain with the blood core, no one was better at reconnaissance than Song Su. Song Su looked solemn and nodded to ZD. My ghosts were all lost in the volcano. Even after paying such a price, we still managed to find a hidden space. That's Aiu's foundry. I saw this legendary giant and the same giant, Saka. Let's not talk about this for now. I have to rush back to the deep-sea monster fish first. ZD nodded. Let's go back together. I also need to bring a group of people to help me. The materials purchased by ZD were currently placed in several temporarily rented warehouses. Because there were a lot of materials, in order to avoid attracting attention, ZD had planned to let the members of the Justice Pirates take some of them back to the deep-sea monster fish. This way, it would be very low-key and not so eye-catching. After a few words with the others, ZD and Song Su left Spitfire City, sneaked all the way down to the beach, and swam back to the deep-sea monster fish. ZD contacted the other members, and Song Su stepped into a special alchemy array to consume soul crystals to heal his soul. This alchemy array was originally set up by him, and many members benefited from it. The injuries to Song Su's soul had been healed to a great extent, but it's not thorough enough. A moment later, the door of a dark cabin was opened by Song Su. Song Su stepped in silently. This was a cabin dedicated to holding captives. The captives were all in deep sleep. They were placed next to each other like sticks on the shelves. On the bottom few floors of the shelves, there was another person on top of each person. The captives were sleeping soundly. Not only were they under spells, but they were also drugged, which was double insurance. Quickly glancing at these people, Song Su's eyes flashed with a touch of coldness. He closed the door, and the cabin immediately became dark. As he chanted, a grayish-white light lit up in the darkness. The chanting soon ended, and the necromancy spell was successfully cast. Song Su stretched out his hand, and a sleeping captive's body suddenly trembled slightly, and a human-shaped soul flew out of the body. The human-shaped soul was pinched into Song Su's hand, and as the necromancy spell took effect, the human-shaped soul let out a shrill scream, and the whole body began to distort rapidly. 10 seconds later, the human-shaped soul was distorted into a pile of slag, turned into a pile of light spots, and quickly dissipated. And the essence turned into a warm current, pouring in from Song Su's palm, all the way to the depths of his soul, and quickly blending. Song Su couldn't help but raise his head, squinting his eyes, and let out a satisfied sigh. Injuries to the soul naturally had to be treated with the soul. Not all souls had such an outstanding effect on Song Su's injuries. Souls also had to be compatible with each other. A compatible soul, coupled with a suitable necromancy spell, was equivalent to a special medicine for Song Su's condition. On the other hand, the soul crystal had a wide range of applications and was not specifically targeted. If the soul was really injured, it could only be used as a supplementary treatment. Without this necromancy spell, Sang-Soo could only wait for his soul to heal itself after using the soul crystal. Now that he used this spell, it saved him a lot of time. After consuming 3 fresh souls in a row, Sang-Soo restored his soul to its peak state. He then drank the potion and quickly recovered his magic power. But because it was daytime, when he was casting spells to control the ghosts, he drank a lot of potions. The potions he drank now were not very effective, and the cost-effectiveness ratio was very low. The situation was tense, and Sang-Soo couldn't care less. With the help of the newly generated magic power, Sang-Soo continuously cast necromancy spells to create ghosts. This spell had a high probability of failure. Sang-Soo sacrificed more than a dozen captives, and only then did he have 3 new ghosts. After dealing with the corpses, Sang-Soo left the cabin and found that ZD had already left the deep-sea monster fish with a group of people. ZD's time was even more tight. She needed these people to spread out and sneak into Fire Spray City. If the gates of Fire Spray City were closed at night, it would be more difficult to enter and exit. Fortunately, every evening there was a lot of traffic at every city gate. Many citizens of Fire Spray City had to go to other ports on Fire Spray Island for work and livelihood, but they also lived in Fire Spray City. When Sang-Soo arrived at the city gate, there were already very few people, and the city gate was about to close. After he successfully entered, he met up with ZD and the others again. Late at night, the young man, ZD, Sang-Soo, Sandao, and the others hid in a hotel room closest to the caravan's base. Under the cover of the alchemy array, Sang-Soo controlled the ghosts to enter the caravan's base. Even the tight defenses inside the volcano couldn't stop the ghosts from spying. Investigating the caravan's base was even easier for these ghosts. They first spread out, and then quickly found the warehouse. There were all sorts of rare resources stored in metal boxes of various sizes. The tent where the boxes were kept was guarded inside and outside. It was heavily guarded and very vigilant. It showed the excellent military skills of the sand giants. But it was useless. The 3 ghosts were extremely weak, but they swaggered in and out under the watchful eyes of the guards. The guards didn't notice anything. It wasn't that these people didn't have any detection methods against natural ghosts. It was that they lacked countermeasures against ghosts created by necromancy spells. Of course, as time passed, more and more people came into contact with necromancy spells and understood it. There would definitely be a way to deal with it in the future. Most of the boxes could be directly penetrated by the ghosts to check the contents. In the end, only a few storage boxes were left. The quality was at least silver, and many of them were shining with the radiance of magic, which made it difficult for the ghosts to penetrate. Forcibly penetrating them would have a great impact on the ghosts and cause irreparable damage, especially since these 3 ghosts were new and very weak. There are more than 10 boxes, and we can't tell which one is which. Sang-Soo frowned. Even if I abandon these 3 ghosts and sacrifice them to investigate, I'm afraid I can't find more than 2. I have an idea. ZD smiled and patted the gargoyle puppet beside her. Next, it's time for my little darling to enter the stage. Chapter 391. In the night, the gargoyle puppet moved like a ghost, quickly approaching the Sha Huang caravan's encampment from the dark corners between houses. In the room, a magic array was operating, showing a floating image, which was what the gargoyle puppet saw. The caravan's encampment was heavily guarded, with many magic traps. Only the entrance was not set up. There were 2 gold-level guards guarding the entrance, very vigilant. Not only that, there were patrols around, patrolling the entrance every 10 minutes. Whether it was the guards or the patrols, their height and body shape were different from humans. They were standard giants. ZD commanded the gargoyle with rapt attention. There were 2 main ways to control the gargoyle. One was simple orders, such as attack, retreat, guard the place, and so on. The other was like the current situation, where ZD personally controlled it. This kind of control would make the gargoyle more spiritual, and its actions would be more appropriate to ZD's idea. But it consumed mental strength, and the range of control was not large. However, in order to expand the range of control, the Justice Pirates had already set up an alchemy array in the room before the operation. They had to thank the War Dealer for this. He had too many alchemy results in his database, and there were countless alchemy arrays. ZD used her mental strength to control the gargoyle, and after leaving the cover of the house, it swaggered directly to the entrance. Whether it was the 2 gold-level guards at the entrance or the patrols around the corner, they all turned a blind eye to the gargoyle. Pearl foam. In order to ensure the success of this operation, the Justice Pirates took out extremely rare and limited divine artifacts. The gargoyle used pearl foam, which could be used to camouflage intelligent beings for a certain period of time. The Shah Huang caravan had set up a large number of magic traps everywhere in the encampment. But at the entrance, to avoid trouble, they replaced the traps with guards. This point happened to be used by the Justice Pirates. Sang Su's ghost had already investigated clearly and secretly destroyed and interfered with some. ZD was reminded and controlled the gargoyle to bypass many magic traps and smoothly entered the tent. There were many boxes containing supplies, but ZD was well prepared. The gargoyle opened its mouth and spat out a bottle of potion. It opened the cork of the potion, and the potion inside immediately evaporated and drifted into the air. The potion didn't have any smell and was colorless at first. 10 seconds later, wisps of purple smoke appeared in the air. In the room of the inn, ZD explained to everyone with a smile, "Back then, I collected various prices of goods from various shops. At the same time, I also tried my best to inspect the goods. This was to prevent sellers from swapping goods with shoddy ones." The red and blue crystal cluster is one of them. After I touched it, it was stained with a colorless and odorless potion. This kind of potion is very difficult to discover. Only when you come into contact with the corresponding potion will you be able to find traces of it. When everyone heard this explanation, they suddenly understood. No wonder ZD was so confident. The young man looked at ZD with undisguised admiration in his eyes. ZD's strength was limited by her bloodline, so she was only at the Black Iron rank. However, she herself was very outstanding. Even some small tricks could be used by her to ingeniously solve big problems in reality. The potion in the bottle quickly evaporated. Thick purple smoke appeared in the tent. Following the traces of the purple smoke, everyone found their target. There were 2 boxes, neither of which was big. They were 40 centimeters long, 20 centimeters wide, and 30 centimeters high. The 2 boxes were exactly the same. Even if the gargoyle reached out to lift them, it would find that the weight was about the same. It would be difficult to lift them. In fact, it wasn't just these 2 boxes. There were more than a dozen boxes that were similar in appearance. These are all space boxes, alchemy creations. The specifications should be the same. It is very likely that they were made by the same person. In the room, Sang Su began to command the ghost to cooperate with the gargoyle and try to open the boxes on the spot. It was unsuccessful. This kind of box must be brought back and placed in a high-level alchemy array. Only then can it be opened safely. If you try to open it by force, not only will it trigger the alarm, but it may also trigger the runes inside, causing the treasure inside to be destroyed. At this point, ZD looked troubled. But the gargoyle can only carry 1 box. We can only choose one. Although these boxes weren't big, each of them was very heavy. The gargoyle was already at the silver rank, but it was difficult to maintain it. Moving only 1 box was still a difficult challenge for it. As for Sang Su's 3 ghosts, they were even more hopeless. Which one should we choose? ZD was a little hesitant as she looked at everyone. Lan Zhao said, "Just pick one. I think that the longer we delay, the more likely an accident will happen. In any case, both boxes have traces of purple smoke. This means that both boxes contain red and blue crystal clusters. It doesn't matter which one we choose." "No." Sang Su shook his head. "The purple smoke only indicates the whereabouts of the red and blue crystal clusters. It doesn't mean that the red and blue crystal clusters are really stored in the boxes. The simplest case is that after these people bought the red and blue crystal clusters, they put them in one box. Later, they found that the box couldn't fit them, so they put them in a second, more empty box. That's right. ZD added, moreover, the red and blue crystal clusters that I checked were only a small portion. It's possible that both boxes stored crystals, or it's possible that they were only stored for a while, and these crystals have already been taken out and used up. If there's no better way to distinguish, we can only take a gamble. Sandao gritted his teeth. Master Zhong Ji's situation is not good. He can't hold on much longer. When Zhongge was mentioned, everyone's face turned serious. From Confusion Island to the Eye of Heaven's Pillar Sea, Zhongge had become one of their closest companions. Everyone struggled to survive together, fought against strong enemies together, drank and laughed together, and thought of a way out for the future together. Saving Zhongge was everyone's wish. No one was willing to give up on Zhongge so easily. Sandao's words were the truth. Zhongge was running out of time. Along the way, everyone spared no expense and relied on all kinds of precious potions and rare scrolls to barely keep him alive. When they arrived at Fire-Breathing Island, his situation had deteriorated to the extreme. He doesn't have much time left. In fact, it's the same for us. Make your choice. ZD said. Who can make the choice for Zhongge? Sandao did not decline and pointed at the magic image in the air. I choose this box. Then, ZD was about to say something, but was interrupted by the young captain. The moment Sandao made his choice, he had an intuition. Choosing the other box would be better. My feeling tells me that the other box would be better. The young man spoke his true thoughts. Everyone was stunned. Sandao stared at the young man and thought, I don't have anything to insist on. I'll listen to you, master. After making their choice, ZD and Song Su immediately started to move. Song Su controlled the ghost to scout ahead. The silver gargoyle carried the box and stealthily moved forward. It had a hard time carrying the box, and its back was hunched in an exaggerated arc. His two broad wings had become useless. Fly? Don't even think about it. There were no surprises or dangers on the way back. They still swaggered out of the base's gate. The pearl foam really had a magical effect. Not long after, the gargoyle returned to the inn, and everyone personally touched the box. The box was very heavy, and even the young man did not have the strength to move it. He was not in his dragonoid form, nor was he in his fishman form. Give it to the big guy, put it among the other supplies, and let the big guy take it out at dawn. It was already late at night, and it was very troublesome to leave the city. Not only did they need to go through the formalities, but they would also be checked more strictly than during the day. First, clean up the traces here. We'll move to the second temporary base and have a good rest. The young captain ordered. This operation was to steal from a saint powerhouse, and it was like pulling a tooth from a tiger's mouth. But everyone had experienced too many thrilling experiences, and this kind of risk was like a drizzle. The brave justice pirates quickly moved to the second temporary stronghold. It was also a hotel. According to the plan, Sandao and Lan Zhao would keep watch, and the others would seize the opportunity to close their eyes and sleep. When they woke up, the sky was already bright. The Sand Yellow clan's base was still calm, and they should not have realized that they lost a box. According to ZD's arrangement, the big guy followed the morning crowd and smoothly left Fire Spray City. Not long after, on deep-sea monster fish, the box was safely opened under the continuous operation of the alchemy array. There were no red and blue crystal clusters. Chapter 392. Seeing that there was no trace of the red and blue crystal clusters in the chest, everyone's heart sank. What about Zhongge? Without the red and blue crystal clusters, we can't build the alchemy array. How can we save Zhongge if we can't unleash more of the power of the golden green jade coffin? Sandao clenched his fists. The cruel and cold future made his eyes red and round with anger. The goblin straightened his neck and suddenly said, Let's go back and steal again. Let's steal the other treasure chest. ZD and Song Su looked at each other, worried. There's not enough time. Besides, if we go back and steal again, the risk will be at least 10 times higher. Sandow gritted his teeth. We were wrong. At that time, after stealing a chest, we could have just left it there and continued. ZD and Song Su both shook their heads. The latter said, "The alchemy array can't hold on anymore. I'm not in good condition and have hit rock bottom. Miss ZD's spirit is also mostly exhausted. She needs to rest." Sandow shouted, "Then hurry up and rest. Seize the time. When we're better, we'll steal again." Lan Zhao shook his head. Sandow, calm down. Even if we go back and steal that chest, are you sure it's there? It's very likely that the situation is the same as now. Sandow, then what can we do? His face was very ugly as he muttered to himself. If only we had chosen the other chest. The young captain's tone was heavy as he blamed himself. This is my responsibility. ZD shook her head. It's not your fault at all. We were all gambling. Everyone agreed to choose this chest. It's true that one has to take responsibility for making decisions, but it's too unfair to blame you for this matter. At this point, the president of the Chamber of Commerce looked at Sandow with a cold gaze. Sandow didn't back down. His attitude was very tough. The teenage captain walked between ZD and Sandow, separating them from each other. Everyone calmed down. His face was solemn, and his gaze gave off a strong sense of majesty. Everyone restrained their expressions, be it Sandow or ZD. The authority of the young captain as a leader was undoubtedly displayed at this moment. The teenager took a deep breath and said sincerely, "We are in a very dangerous situation now. Perhaps the Flame Island is the last stop of the Justice Pirates. Everyone is under a lot of psychological pressure, but there is no need to fight among ourselves and vent this pressure on our companions. Along the way, we have supported each other and experienced countless hardships and dangers. We broke into the underground alchemy factory of the war traffickers and barely made it out alive. We rushed out of the heavenly pillar seas, which was extremely thrilling. We evaded the pursuit of the Imperial Navy and struggled to survive. Zhong Ge has fallen. He fought with his life on the line for this group. Therefore, we will never give up on him. We don't have much time left, and we don't have many chances left, but we still have hope and can continue to try." As soon as the voice fell, Song Su immediately nodded. As a butler of a noble, he was very good at maintaining authority. Just like before, he immediately expressed his support for the teenager. "Sir is absolutely right. Zhong Ji's situation is very complicated and serious. Since he fell into a coma, we have been trying our best to save him. The potions, scrolls, and so on consumed are of astonishing value. These treatment methods come from the Empire, and the quality is quite high. It is almost impossible to obtain better treatment methods from the outside world, because our situation is too difficult. Only with the help of the alchemy array and better display the power of the golden green jade coffin can there be hope to cure Zhong Ge." At this point, Song Su looked at Sandow again. "We have been working hard and have never thought of giving up. Your proposal is to continue stealing, but this method is very risky." ZD shook her head and analyzed. "There is not enough time. We have to set up the array and find a suitable place to hide and cast spells again. If we continue to steal, the possibility of being exposed is too high. If I were a giant of the San Huang tribe, I would definitely take inventory of these resources and treasures every day. There is one possibility that our theft has already been discovered, but they're not doing it in secret. To them, Spitfire City is not their territory. It is also very possible that they are being more cautious. After all, they have so many boxes, and only one of them is missing. There is no need to make a fuss. More importantly, if this matter is blown out of proportion, it means that they are not good at guarding and are very incompetent. This is very humiliating for the San Juan clan. This will cause more trouble for their marriage alliance in Spitfire City." At this point, ZD paused for a moment. "Actually, we can change our way of thinking. We can start to negotiate with them. We can use the treasures in the box we stole or other things to exchange for the red and blue crystal clusters. Of course, This way, they will immediately suspect me. After all, I have met with them before and expressed my strong desire to buy them. This is not a big deal. With our current situation, it doesn't matter if we provoke one more saint. Moreover, we have a legitimate reason. Then, ZD told him that she had been attacked secretly in the tent and her mind had been injured. You're injured? The young man was very concerned. ZD hurriedly said, I am not deliberately hiding it. It is just that this matter does not affect the overall situation. To be honest, when I stole the treasure box, I really reached my limit. Hearing this, Sandow's face showed a trace of shame. ZD did not care about Sandow's bad attitude. The young man's sincere concern made her secretly happy and happy. Sandow frowned and said, If we are going to negotiate, then let me go. I can threaten the young patriarch of the San Juan tribe and use the excuse of breaking the marriage alliance to increase the bargaining chip. He was enlightened by ZD's words. As a saint, Sanbun was indeed powerful. The entire San Juan tribe's caravan was also stronger than the Justice Pirates. But this did not mean that the Justice Pirates could only be at a disadvantage. The situation was different. The San Juan tribe also had weaknesses and flaws. Song Su interrupted. Other than stealing, there are indeed other ways. If we're going to negotiate, then the treasure in this box is also one of our bargaining chips. If its value is high, it will be more advantageous for us to negotiate. With this reminder, everyone looked at the box carefully. There was only one thing in the box. It was obvious that this was an alchemy item. After taking it out, this alchemy treasure was completely displayed in front of everyone. It was about the same size as an adult about one, 75 meters. Its entire form was like an octopus with many tentacles. It was more like an evil eye, but with many eyes. The entire spherical head was surrounded by eyes. These eyeballs were of different sizes, but they were not densely packed and were arranged in a very orderly manner. The entire alchemy octopus exuded an exquisite beauty. Even a mortal who knew nothing about alchemy could feel at a glance that this treasure was no small matter. It can actually float in the air by itself. Lonzeo was very curious. But why doesn't it have any aura? This just shows its value. Song Su smiled. Although he was not very good at alchemy, during that period of time, he was forced to act as an alchemist for the Justice Pirates, which was very painful and torturous. But because of this, he knew a lot about alchemy. Song Su first pointed out a few parts of the octopus's body, identifying these materials. The quality of these materials is very high. They are generally gold-grade materials and even saint-grade materials. According to common sense, the aura of these materials would mix together and conflict with each other. But you see, it has no aura. This shows that the craftsmanship is just right, allowing all the materials to blend perfectly. If there's even a little imperfection, the aura will definitely leak out. When we really activate this item, we should be able to feel its aura. To be on the safe side, everyone still used pearl foam to prevent this alchemy puppet from attacking after it was activated. The one who instilled spirit and magic power into it was Song Su. ZD herself was injured, and it was not convenient for her to continue taking risks. At the same time, if Song Su was injured, he could use necromancy to heal himself. But if ZD was injured, Song Su's necromancy to heal ZD would have a lot of side effects. After all, Song Su's body had been modified by necromancy. After receiving Song Su's magic power, this alchemy puppet's eyes lit up a few times. Song Su also received the information inside the alchemy body. He revealed a shocked expression and cried out involuntarily, "This is actually a saint-grade alchemy puppet. The one who made it is actually Chiao Fu, an alchemy grandmaster of the elves, even more qualified than the war dealers." Chapter 393. Everyone in the Righteous Pirates had heard of Chiao Fu. She was already more than 800 years old, which was considered old even for an elf. The war dealer was a goblin, so the age limit of his race couldn't be compared to Xiao Fu's. When Xiao Fu became famous, the war dealer hadn't even been born yet. Xiao Fu isn't important. The key is that this is a saint-level alchemy puppet. Lan Zhao exclaimed. For the righteous pirates, this was undoubtedly a sudden increase in saint-level combat power. But then Sang Su slowly shook his head. I know what you're thinking, but unfortunately, this isn't a combat alchemy puppet. The information left behind by Xiao Fu is very limited. Its model is called Alchemy Assistant Type 3. It's specially made to act as an assistant for alchemists. These tentacles are very flexible, 100 times more flexible than a human hand. Of course, it needs to be equipped with the corresponding alchemy tools. Its structure is very fine, it uses a lot of materials, and its quality is very high, but its combat power is very low. A black iron level fighter can suppress it. Given enough time, a fighter will be able to destroy it. Apart from that, Sang Su said as he began to control the alchemy puppet. The back of the puppet's head suddenly opened and spat out a tube. The tube was originally inserted into the alchemy puppet's head, but now a small part of it popped out. Sang Su reached out, took one end of the tube, and carefully pulled it out. The tube was about the size and thickness of an adult's arm. It was translucent, and both the surface and the interior were densely packed with tiny ant-like alchemy runes. Sang Su pointed at the middle of the tube. Look here. Everyone's eyes lit up. They found that the tube stored red and blue crystal clusters. Apart from that, there were other types of elemental crystals. Yellow crystals representing earth elements, green crystals representing wind elements, and so on. Sandao's face flashed with joy, but it quickly disappeared, because he found that there were too few red and blue crystal clusters. Sang Su continued, to power this alchemy puppet, you need all kinds of elemental crystals. The quality of each type of crystal has to be at least saint level. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Sang Su continued, if the quality of a certain type of crystal is not up to standard, it can still barely operate. But the prerequisite is that it must be a composite element crystal cluster. This should be the reason why the Sand Huang race's caravan is purchasing the red and blue crystal clusters in Flame Spray City. The puppet octopus assistant didn't have the structure of a mana pool. Mana pools were generally used in large-scale and super-large-scale alchemy creations. For example, the Mage Tower and the Magic Ship. The magic of the octopus assistant was directly extracted from the elemental crystals through a sophisticated device. The extracted magic power of various attributes was also very helpful for alchemy. Many alchemy methods had more or less elemental requirements. Sometimes the requirements were harsh, and sometimes the requirements were strange. ZD smiled and said, "That's not bad. Don't we need an alchemist? Now that we have it, we don't need to take the risk of recruiting outsiders. After all, our secret is too important. This alchemy puppet is naturally worthy of our trust." Sang Su sighed. Now, this alchemy puppet still can't be activated. It still lacks a spirit. ZD was slightly stunned. You mean it needs to be equipped with an intelligent spirit? Sang Su nodded yes. The grade of this intelligent spirit also needs to be high. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to display the alchemy puppet's function. Of course, it can be activated now. However, even the slightest movement requires me to command it. Sandao suddenly said, since it can't be used, we can use it to negotiate with the San Huang caravan. Such a high-grade alchemy puppet should be their most valuable betrothal gift. Sang Su muttered, the Lord of Flame Spray City is very accomplished in alchemy and is also very good at making alchemy puppets. But she makes large-scale puppets, while Xiao Fu is more proficient in making smaller models. In any case, this alchemy puppet is very attractive to the Lord of Flame Spray City. It's a bit bad. ZD shook her head. The value of this treasure is too high. Once it is discovered that it has been stolen, the Sand Huang caravan will definitely fly into a rage and mobilize all their forces to find this item. This situation is very different from what we guessed before. Reputation is already secondary. They are very likely to inform Flame's Spray City and borrow the local forces to hunt down and frantically search for this puppet. ZD's analysis was very reasonable, and everyone's heart couldn't help but sink. If Flame Spray City was mobilized by the San Juan caravan, it would be extremely disadvantageous for the Justice Pirates. They would fall into a situation where it would be difficult to take a single step forward. The situation is indeed not good. The young captain said, "It's related to the power of a saint. If it was a combat puppet, then forget it. This is an alchemy assistant that can continuously perform alchemy and produce endless value. We are very likely to be searched and attacked by the Lord of Flames Spray City because of this. We have to contact the San Juan caravan as soon as possible before they decide to give up their reputation and tell the Lord of Flames Spray City about this matter." Compared to facing the legend rank Lord of Flames Spray City, facing the Saint rank Sanbun is much less pressure. "Sir, thank you." Sandow solemnly bowed to the young captain to express his gratitude. The young captain didn't hesitate at all and directly gave up on this alchemy puppet, choosing to take the risk and negotiate to save Zonga. This moved Sandow, but at the same time he also felt a lot of guilt. The young captain patted Sandow's shoulder. Next, seize the time to rest and reorganize, then move out. Whether it was Tsang Su or ZD, they were both in a bad state. Spellcasters had much more means than chi cultivators. In order to negotiate with the San Juan caravan without a saint-rank fighter on their side, they would have to rely on the strength of everyone. ZD and Tsang Su both knew the urgency of the situation. After a race against time, they began to act. However, something unexpected happened. The city gates of the flame-spitting city were closed in an emergency. Moreover, the city was bustling with noise and commotion. Could it be that the theft of the treasure has been discovered, and the giants of the San Juan caravan took the initiative to ask the Lord of Flame Spray City for help? Damn it, can't we use the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce's Elder Token to smooth things over? Now, Missy D should be under serious suspicion. After all, the negotiation failed, and there was conflict. That's right. If we use the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce now, wouldn't we be walking right into a trap? For a moment, no one could think of a solution. They had only been here for 2 or 3 days, and they didn't have a reliable channel to gather information. They'll only open the gates after the chaos in the city is over and they haven't discovered the thief. That's right, they can't close the city forever. No, I think it's worth it for Assistant Octopus to close the city for a few days. If it were me, I would definitely turn the city upside down. Perhaps we should move out directly and negotiate. Everyone fell silent at this point in their discussion. It was too rash to directly stand out and use the alchemy puppet to threaten legends and saints. "Let me do it." Sandow's expression was solemn as he stepped forward bravely. The others tried to persuade him, but Sandow was resolute. With this plan in mind, everyone had an urgent discussion and immediately retreated. Sandow went straight to the gates of Flame Spray City alone. A moment later, he rushed back. "The situation isn't what we think," Sandow said. "The Lord of Flame Spray City took the initiative to seal the city, clean up the city, and restore order. She wants to welcome an important guest from afar tomorrow. Perhaps this is just an excuse for her to cover up the search." "No, an excuse wouldn't have such a big flaw. Who is the important guest?" "Tucker," Sandow replied. Chapter 394. Tucker. Hearing Sandow's answer, the few people present were a little surprised. Tucker, this was not an unfamiliar name. Although they had never met, the Justice Pirates had indirectly contacted him. More precisely, they had used the ship's spirit repair scroll. This scroll was Tucker's work, and it displayed his strength and talent to the fullest. And Tucker was originally of noble birth. He came from a steel pound family, had a strong bloodline, and had shown his genius side since he was young. Now, he had become a sanctuary-level alchemist. He was still very young, only 45 years old. His alchemy attainments were quite strong, especially in the field of tower spirits and ship spirits. He could be said to be one of the top talents in the world. After using the ship spirit repair scroll, the Warmonger tower spirit was largely repaired, and the Justice pirates also benefited greatly. ZD and the others also wanted to buy another scroll at the black market auction. Unfortunately, they didn't get what they wanted. The value of the ship spirit repair scroll was huge, and the response to it was extremely enthusiastic. The Empire immediately made adjustments and raised the ship spirit repair scroll as a strategic resource, which would be strictly controlled in the future. Since that's the case, then the news about Tucker's visit tomorrow shouldn't be bad. Lonzeo said. ZD shook her head slightly. To be on the safe side, let's make sure. The goblin Sandow said, this news is easy to confirm, as long as we arrange for someone to go directly to the dock to guard it. Spitting Fire City was an inland mountain city that surrounded an active volcano. If Tucker and the others wanted to enter Spitting Fire City, they had to first choose a dock on Spitting Fire Island. Since Spitting Fire City was so noisy and made such a big fuss, he believed that the dock would not be bad. Therefore, the location of the dock where Tucker docked was easy to find out. The young captain thought for a moment and said, then let's split into two groups. One group will verify the dock. We'll wait for news all the way and decide how to enter the city. Sandow nodded. Let's do it. Wait a minute. Song Su said, we seem to have missed a possibility. Tucker's visit should be real, but perhaps our theft has already been exposed, and the Sand Yellow Tribe's giants have already sought help from Fire Spray City. So this time, the Lord of Spitfire City directly used Tucker's visit as an opportunity to secretly investigate us? Everyone frowned slightly. Indeed, they could not rule out this possibility. Sandow snorted coldly. If we worry too much about the risks, we'll lose this opportunity instead. I will go to the city alone. The former mercenary group leader was very determined. He was indeed a different goblin. Zonga had once saved his life in a shipwreck, and now he was willing to sacrifice his life to save the orcs. Song Su smiled and looked at Sandow. Your will is as strong as steel, but with only your will, you are still far from success. Sandow's frown deepened, but Song Su's next words dispelled his annoyance and impatience. Song Su said, I will also go with you. With my necromancy, I could be of great help. Sandow's brows relaxed and revealed a strange look. He could not help but look at the necromancer in front of him with a new gaze. To be honest, there were also gaps within the Justice Pirates. Any group would exist. The necromancer Song Su and the orc warrior Zongu were obviously antagonistic. Sandow did not expect that Song Su would actually take such a risk for Zongu. Song Su continued, even if the fact that we stole the treasure is discovered, it doesn't matter much. We have cleaned up the traces before. More importantly, I have confidence in the Pearl Foam. As long as they don't have the really important clues, just by using divination and prophecy, we have the Pearl Foam and are relatively safe. So, after some discussion, they arranged for Sandow and Song Su to go to Spitfire City. ZD, Lonzeo, and the others went to the dock to investigate. The young captain led the big guy and the others to temporarily guard outside the city, closest to the monster fish. If things went wrong, they would carry out rescue or reinforcements. If nothing unexpected happened, they would continue to move the supplies. The supplies purchased by ZD must be stored in a rented warehouse. For the Justice Pirates, every opportunity to resupply must be cherished, and these supplies had not been moved by half before. The night passed and dawn came. Sandow and Song Su were the closest to Spitfire City, and they soon discovered the new situation. The gates of Spitfire City opened again. Sandow walked around, observed for a while, and came back to meet Song Su. The main gate hasn't opened yet. That should be the passage to receive Tucker. But the other 3 sub-gates are open, and people have already begun to come in and out. Song Su analyzed. This doesn't mean anything. It's possible that Spitfire City has never searched us, or it's possible that they have searched all night without success. At this moment, they're deliberately using this trick in an attempt to lure us out of the city to find more valuable clues. Let's wait a little longer. Sandow was a little impatient. Can't you use ghosts to investigate? Song Su sighed. I do carry ghosts with me, but when I use spells, it will produce obvious magic power fluctuations that must be concealed with an alchemy array. But if I set up an array outside the city, it will be easy to be observed, and it will take a long time to set it up, and there's only one set of supplies left. Sandow had to be patient. He looked in the direction of the dock. Then let's wait. They were waiting for news from ZD. ZD, Lonzeo, and the others were near the dock, waiting for Tucker's arrival. The sun rose. The morning sun rose over the sea, and the morning glow filled the sky. In the soft and salty sea breeze, the soft cries of seabirds could be heard. At first, ZD only saw a human figure in her field of vision. Look over there. It seems like someone is coming over in a canoe. ZD was a little uncertain. Lonzeo looked into the distance against the sunlight. The morning sun had just risen, and the sunlight was not too dazzling. Lonzeo soon discovered the black figure that ZD was talking about. Unlike ZD, Lonzeo was an old sailor who had struggled and survived on ships for a long time. He immediately perceived part of the truth. That's very far away. Unless it's a giant, it really does look like a giant sitting on a canoe and paddling. ZD suddenly confirmed, that should be Tucker. What? Lonzeo was puzzled. Isn't Tucker a human? ZD pointed not far away. Look at those people, they're starting to move. A large group of people had already gathered at the dock. They had arrived much earlier than ZD and Lonzeo. They had sealed off a portion of the area and had already made some simple arrangements. Seeing the giant canoe approach, these people who were originally resting all began to move. A human, who seemed to be a housekeeper, was shouting loudly, giving orders to these people. The city guards reorganized themselves, and the bands began to play their instruments, especially the trombonists. They lined up on both sides of the road, preparing to play. Apart from these people, there were also many passers-by. Some of them were sailors, some were dock workers, and there were also rich merchants and nobles who had specially come to watch the show. ZD, Lonzeo, and the others had already occupied the balcony of a building, which was not very eye-catching. The giant canoe came closer and closer, gradually revealing its true appearance in the eyes of ZD and the others. This was not a giant, but a giant puppet. Its upper body was similar to that of a human, while its lower body was that of a ship. It held a pair of huge oars in its hands. It was Tucker's ship, the same gold-grade magic ship as the deep-sea monster fish, the steel giant. As the steel giant approached, there was a sudden commotion at the dock. A large group of giants came over, their oars heavy. They were at least silver-grade, and a few of them were even gold-grade. They were clustered around a female giant. Her body was clearly larger than the giants around her by a little. Her skin was brownish-red, and her hair was brownish-yellow, casually draped over her shoulders. She had 2 blue-black horns on her forehead, and there were obvious whorls on the horns. The female giant's aura was very vast. She was a legend. Seeing her appear, ZD subconsciously shrunk her head. Lonzeo swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The Lord of Spitfire City? Why did she personally come to welcome Tucker? Tucker was indeed noble, but he was only a saint. The Lord of Spitfire City was a senior legend. Chapter 395. ZD stood by the window and looked at the dock in the distance. After everyone saluted the Lord of Spitfire City, the welcome music sounded on the dock, and the atmosphere quickly warmed up. ZD narrowed her eyes slightly. She keenly observed that many passers-by were surprised by the appearance of the Lord of Spitfire City. But there were also a small number of people who were not surprised. It seems that the higher-ups of Spitfire City have already known that he will personally greet Tucker. ZD was slightly delighted. This discovery greatly improved the safety of Song, Su, and Sandow. Tucker was as surprised as ZD. when his subordinate came to report urgently. Tucker was in the dining hall having breakfast with the patriarch of 100 Needles. Hearing this news, Tucker was slightly taken aback and immediately ordered the relevant personnel to move out. Then he apologized to the patriarch of 100 Needles for not being able to continue eating. The patriarch of 100 Needles quickly expressed his understanding and flattered Tucker very naturally. After that, he asked Etone and Tucker to greet the Lord of Spitfire City. Tucker readily agreed. When the two walked out of the cabin together and came to the bow deck. On the front deck of the Steel Giant, a ceremonial team had gathered. The ceremonial team had just played the music and was about to proceed according to the normal aristocratic communication ceremony when they heard the voice of the Lord of Spitfire City. "Ha ha! Earl Tucker, welcome to Spitfire Island." The Lord of Spitfire City's voice was extremely loud, like thunder rumbling. The assistant on the side quickly raised his hand and stopped the ceremonial band with his eyes. Sure enough, the next moment, Tucker bowed and replied, "Thank you for your service. I am in awe and trepidation. Today, I am honored to be able to visit Spitfire Island and see the Honorable Lord of Spitfire City." The Patriarch of 100 Needles looked at Tucker beside him and couldn't help but show a touch of admiration. Tucker was not only a talented master alchemist, but he was also an excellent aristocrat. Although the unexpected appearance caught him off guard, he maintained the demeanor of an aristocrat from beginning to end. Tucker and the Lord of Spitfire City exchanged a few more words, and the Steel Giant really docked at the dock. Tucker, the Patriarch of 100 Needles, and the others stepped off the ship and came to the Lord of Spitfire City. Tucker then introduced the 100 Needles Patriarch to the Lord of Spitfire City. However, the Castellan of Spitfire City was obviously more interested in Tucker. Even though he knew the identity of the clan leader of the 100 Needles clan, he just nodded at him and didn't take him seriously. However, at this moment, someone else cast a surprised look at the 100 Needles clan leader. "Clan leader by Jean, why is he here?" At this moment, ZD's eyes widened in shock. As if sensing her gaze, the 100 Needles clan leader frowned slightly and glanced at the windowsill here. ZD quickly hid behind the wall. Soon after, she felt her heartbeat quicken and the pressure in her heart doubled. What happened? Why did clan leader 100 Needles come with Tucker? Did the 100 Needles family persuade Tucker to help him deal with the pirates who kidnapped his son? How likely is that? What price did the 100 Needles clan pay? For a moment, ZD's thoughts became extremely fast and chaotic. Although the 100 Needles clan was in dire straits, ZD never dared to underestimate it. Because of its past glory, there might be some heritage left behind. Damn it, if clan leader 100 Needles and Tucker join forces, we will have to deal with a sanctuary mage. And this mage is also a master alchemist. The Castellan of Spitfire thinks highly of him and is more likely to help him. Thinking of Shab Bun and Tucker, ZD couldn't help but have a headache. Lonzeo was also shocked by this situation. They discussed for a while and decided that ZD would leave first and quietly pass on the two messages as soon as possible. Lonzeo continued to investigate the situation at the dock. The Castellan of Spitfire received Tucker and naturally wouldn't stay at the dock to chat. Soon, he invited Tucker to board the carriage. The 100 Needles clan leader said goodbye to Tucker. Tucker didn't know the real intention of the 100 Needles clan leader and thought he was going to other islands. Before leaving, he solemnly invited the 100 Needles clan leader to visit his territory when he was free. Sandow and Song Su soon received the news and ZD's guess. Did the 100 Needles clan leader really invite Tucker? If so, he should try to hide this relationship and let the robbers and pirates despise him. Instead of openly going with Tucker, Song Su analyzed. The necromancer's mood was very heavy. Sha Bun's trouble was still there, and Tucker was here again. Any one of them could crush the entire Justice Pirates in a powder. In Spitfire City, the Justice Pirates were like walking on a wire rope, and they could fall into the abyss at any time. Instead of guessing here and there, it's better to go to the city first. Sandow couldn't help but urge. Excluding the unexpected situation of the 100 Needles clan leader, The information that the Castellan of Spitfire City had prepared for a long time to welcome Tucker was good news for Sandow and Song-Soo. According to the plan, Sandow would enter the city first, followed by Song-Soo. The gate they chose was, of course, not the main gate, which had been blocked. But because of this, the flow of people in and out of the other three gates increased greatly. Sandow and Song-Soo were secretly nervous and calmly passed through the gate. No one checked on them. They quickly and smoothly approached the caravan's residence. But unlike the last time, they didn't dare to go too deep this time, but kept a distance. It was another hotel. After choosing a room, Song-Soo immediately set up an alchemy array, while Sandow was responsible for keeping watch and guarding. After the array was activated, Song-Soo began to cast undead spells and released ghosts. The three ghosts circled around before splitting into three and sneaking into the caravan's residence. The defense of the caravan's residence was obviously much sparser than before. This made Song-Soo more vigilant. Finally, a ghost successfully sneaked into the previous tent, only to find that there were significantly fewer treasure chests in the tent. What's going on? There are fewer treasure chests and fewer guards. Something must have happened. Song-Soo began to take the risk and used the ghost to inspect the caravan's residence. After a while, Song-Soo's face was slightly pale as he said to Sandow, "Shop Bun is also gone." In order to confirm the situation, next, I plan to use undead spells to pry open the mouth of a giant servant in the caravan. But Sandow shook his head. "Wait first. It's too troublesome for you to do this. It will take a long time. We have to get closer to the caravan's residence than the last time, and even sneak in. I'll go directly to the streets to investigate. Trust me, Song-Soo. I used to be a mercenary group leader. The current situation gives me a feeling. Sha Bun, treasure chests, and guards have all disappeared. They might not be secretly tracking us." Song-Soo was a little hesitant. "Then you'll directly expose yourself." Sandow didn't care about him anymore. He turned around and left. He used his skillful conversational skills and directly asked the citizens living nearby. Song-Soo had been providing support from the shadows. Sandow returned with a grave expression. "There's good news and bad news. The good news is that Sha Bun and those gold-level giant guards of the caravan did not track us down. They don't seem to have discovered that the alchemy puppet was stolen. The bad news is that they went to meet Jia. When they walked out of the caravan's residence, they were very high-profile and attracted a lot of attention." Song-Soo's heart sank when he heard this. Jia is Sha Bun's marriage partner. They took away a portion of the treasure chests. It should be a greeting gift. This can greatly demonstrate the financial resources of the Sha Huang clan, as well as the sincerity of Sha Bun and the others for this marriage. If Sha Bun discovered that the alchemy puppet was stolen, then he would definitely let Jia know. At that time, our space for negotiation with them would be greatly reduced. Sandow nodded and echoed, and it might even cause Jia to take the initiative to help. At that time, we'll have to deal with Sha Bun and the entire Fire Spray City. Sigh. Song-Soo sighed helplessly. "Maybe we'll have to add another Tucker." Sandow gritted his teeth. "I know the location." Sha Bun and his group walked into a tavern in a high-profile manner. "We should hurry over and see if there's a chance." Jia was also a saint, and the two of them were only black iron. This was Jia's headquarters. Would there be a chance? Song-Soo and Sandow both had bitter expressions. They knew that the hope was slim, but they had no choice but to bite the bullet and try their luck. Chapter 396. After discovering the situation, Sandow and Song-Soo hurriedly walked out of their hiding place and headed towards the target tavern. As a result, when the two of them arrived near the target location, they couldn't get any closer. The street where the target tavern was located was firmly guarded by a large number of guards. Among these guards, there were sand giants, as well as the giant city guards of Spitfire City. Among them, there were several gold rank leaders. Whether it was Jinya or Sha Bun, They were all high-ranking existences in the giant race. Sandow lowered his head and tried to sneak into a corner of the street, but he was immediately discovered. A giant guard angrily shouted, "Get out of the way, green bug!" Sandow pretended to be frightened and hurriedly fled. After this probing, Song Su and Sandow immediately understood. There were not only a large number of guards near the tavern, but also a strict magic surveillance. They wanted to disrupt the meeting as much as possible, but in the end, they couldn't even enter the tavern. Sandow's face was ashen. The difference in strength between us and them is too big. Song Su narrowed his eyes and whispered, "I could try to sneak in with my ghosts. Didn't you only bring one set of materials?" Sandow was puzzled, but a trace of hope appeared on his face again. Song Su sighed, "To be precise, we only have one set in our treasury, and we just used it. To be able to resist the surveillance of Spitfire City with such magic fluctuations, and to be able to set up this alchemy array by outsiders like Song Su and ZD, it naturally had a huge price to pay in other aspects. This price was some very rare alchemy materials. Even in Spitfire City, they were very rare. ZD didn't even try to collect them because the price was too high. But Song Su continued, "That alchemy array hasn't been dismantled yet. We should rejoice. This tavern should be within a kilometer from the location of the array. My ghosts can float further away, but if I want to control them to carry out a precise investigation, this distance is the limit." Sandow was overjoyed. The two of them hurried back, and the necromancer cast another spell. The three ghosts moved out again, successfully passing through the guards and a set of strict detection methods, and finally entered the tavern. There were several gold-rank giant guards guarding the tavern's entrance, guarding it loyally. Inside the tavern, there were only two people involved. They were Sha Bun and Jia. Sha Chuan's skin was yellowish, and his hair was still tied in a dirty braid. However, it was obvious that he had dressed up today. His clothes were gorgeous, and his upper body was covered in leather armor, revealing his muscular arms. On his left arm was a jade armband with golden edges. As for Tianya, she was the same as the city lord of Fire Spray City. She also had red skin, and her hair was scattered randomly. There were two small spiral horns on her head. She seemed to have tattoos. Looking at her exposed skin, there were straight and crisscrossed black lines. The black lines drew rectangles that were stacked on top of each other. They were like square bricks. Song Su saw the two of them through the ghosts. Although his alchemy talent was lacking, his vision was very good. He immediately saw that the brick-like tattoos on Tianya's body were no small matter. They contained powerful and profound alchemy mysteries. Tianya and Sha Chuan had obviously been talking for a while. Sha Chuan had a smile on his face, but Tianya was lying on her back with her arms crossed, looking out the window. The seat she chose was very good. Through the window, she could see the main city gate. The view was very good. Sha Chuan spoke for a while, and seeing Tianya's absent-minded look, he couldn't help but smile. He pretended to be casual and said, "Oh right, I brought you some small gifts for our first meeting." "Men!" Sha Chuan shouted at the tavern's entrance. Thus, the tavern's door was opened. A yellow giant guard carried a large pile of treasure chests into the tavern. Of course, for safety, the two gold-rank commanders of the city guards of Fire Spray City immediately followed him in. "Beautiful Miss Tianya, let's play a little game." Sha Chuan pointed at the treasure chests. "There are different treasures in the chests here. Please choose any three. The three you choose will be my gift to you." Hearing this, Tianya finally turned her gaze from the window to Sha Chuan. As the next successor of the Yellow Sand Tribe, Sha Chuan was very attentive to this marriage. He also spent a lot of effort to please Tianya. "Oh, 3 gifts. This seems to be a custom of your side. It's related to a legend." Tianya said, "That's right. It's the story of the Divine King's 3 treasures. So, just like in the story, there's also a grand prize here. Its value far surpasses the other treasures." Sha Chuan laughed and continued, "I can reveal a little more. This is a saint-level treasure. It's very helpful in the field of alchemy." Tianya couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. "Interesting. Then, I'll choose this one." She casually pointed and picked the one at the top of the pile of treasure chests. When the treasure chest opened, there was a bottle of wine inside. Miss Tianya's luck is not bad. This is a saint-level wine, just right for you. As he spoke, Sha Chuan took out a wine jar from the treasure chest and opened the cork. Tianya immediately smelled a wine fragrance that was similar to the fragrance of flowers, but much stronger than flowers. She looked through the mouth of the bottle and saw that the wine inside was orange-red, emitting a dragon's breath. This is dragon's blood sandthorn wine, a specialty of my tribe. Sha Chuan signaled with his eyes, and immediately, a subordinate took out a wine cup. Sha Chuan poured the wine and continued, "To brew this magic wine, you must have two main alchemy ingredients. One is the sandthorn, a type of shrub that grows in the desert. There are only a bunch of short shrubs above the sand, but under the sand, they are extremely luxuriant, like the complex roots of ancient trees. After generations of careful cultivation by our yellow sand tribe, we now have 3 saint-level sandthorns and 26 gold-level sandthorns. Other than the sandthorn, there must be another main ingredient. I'm sure Miss Tinya has already guessed it." Tinya nodded slightly. "Smelling this, I know that the main ingredient must be dragon's blood." Sha Chuan had already filled a cup of wine. After putting down the wine bottle, he clapped his hands lightly, his face full of sincere praise. "As expected of Miss Tianya, your attainments in alchemy are so profound. I was fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of the strength of a noble tribe leader from you. What an honor. Please." Sha Chuan gestured with his hand. Tianya held up the wine cup, smelled it first, then dipped her fingers into the wine cup, dipped them in the wine, and pulled them out. In front of Sha Chuan, she rubbed her thick fingers together. During this process, she emitted magic power fluctuations, and her hands, from inside to outside, emitted bright 5-colored rays of light. The rays of light seeped into the wine, and the wine quickly evaporated. The air was immediately filled with the stench of feces. Sha Chuan's smile froze slightly. Then, Tinya suddenly stuck out her tongue. Her tongue was clearly modified by alchemy. It stretched out about 20 centimeters, reaching the top of the wine cup. The tip of her tongue reached into the wine, and then scooped up a spoonful of wine like a spoon. Then, her tongue retracted, and Tinya closed her big mouth. Bang, bang, gurgle, gurgle, sizzle. A series of strange sounds came from her mouth. At first, it was like a miniature explosion, then the sound of water boiling, and finally the sound of air rushing through a small hole. Finally, Tinya opened her big mouth, and her tongue stuck out again. But the surface of her tongue had already turned black, as if it had just been roasted by fire. The wine from before had already condensed into a layer of black powder, like charcoal powder. Pa-pa-pa-pa. Tinya kept spitting out the black powder. The black powder was spat out on the ground, and some even spat on Sha Chuan's feet. "It's really good wine." After spitting it out, Tinya stretched out her big palm, rudely wiped her mouth, and smiled at Sha Chuan. Sha Chuan also smiled, but his expression was much stiffer than before. Tinya continued, "This kind of wine can increase fire-type Do Qi. If it's diluted, it can even help replenish the body of a young giant. Because many giants lack nutrition during their growth, they grow short and don't have enough strength, and feel inferior for their whole lives. You don't seem to be as tall as me." Tinya seemed to have just discovered this problem. "Sha Chuan, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.